Hello guys, welcome to the channel. Today we are talking about what if Naruto was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Part 1. Naruto left the elemental nations and wound up in a world where flying metal man, magic, and gods exist. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, it will help us make more videos for you. Let's begin. The ruins of Uzumaki. Well, I guess this is it, huh? Naruto said with a sad voice. We know it's gonna happen someday. It's just a matter of when. Kurama said. Standing in the ruins of the home of his ancestors, Naruto stood in front of gate with its doors covered in writing. He wore a dark orange jacket over a black long-sleeve shirt. H also wore a modified black umbu pants with multiple pockets and a pair of brown boots. His long bright blonde hair is covered by the hood of his jacket. After the defeat of Kaguya at Satsuki, a short period of peace has been observed in the elemental nations. Countries and hidden villages alike are working hand in hand to recover from the disasters caused by the Fourth Great Shinobi War. But of course, it wouldn't last long. Everybody knew it. It only takes a single spark of human greed and hates to reverse all the progress achieved. Nobody knew better how fickle human nature is than Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The last heir of the Senju and Uzumaki clans from his mother's side, Kushina Uzumaki, and the last heir of the Namikaze clan and member of the Uchiha clan from his father's side, the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. As a kid, Naruto has always been the target of hate by the citizens of Konoha due to his unique circumstances. He was chosen as the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi by his own father after it escaped from its previous vessel, his mother. Naruto was raised ignorant from his own heritage by the order of the Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Naruto became the target of scorn and hatred of the ignorant masses due to him being the prison of the Kyuubi. Only recently has this outlook been changed due to his role in the Fourth Shino War and the defeat of Kaguya at Satsuki. Tired of the cycle of hatred, Naruto trained hard to overcome the challenges that the path to peace would face. He became the foremost master of Fuinjutsu, acquired the ultimate dojutsu RinneTenseiSharingan, or simply called Sharingan, became the first full sage, and acquired the Takigakure's famed Kinjutsu, the Jiongu, all after the war. He also set out to allow himself to become the Jinchuriki of the 9 Bijiryu. Shukaku, Madatabi, Isabu, Sungaku, Kokuo, Seiken, Komei, Jayaki, and Kurama. This would ensure that the power of the Bijiryu wouldn't be abused by any hidden village and would allow some form of freedom to the Bijiryu due to his modified Death God seal that allows partial autonomy of the Bijiryu inside the seal. An unforeseen side effect of all the power he acquired was that he became essentially immortal. An overreaction to his predicament, he decided to leave the world he has known and live a relatively normal life in another world. He dedicated his knowledge of Fuinjutsu and near limitless amount of chakra in his disposal. He created a bridge to another world. Packing up everything he would need and saying one last goodbye to the only world he has known, the 21-year-old Naruto, the hero of the elemental nations, left the world in a flash of light so bright it rivaled the sun, without so much as a goodbye to his friends and families. Central Park, New York, USA, 2005, that is the worst hydration ever. Naruto shouted with a fervor, shut up. If it's bad for you, how about for us in here? Komei replied with equal enthusiasm. I guess it's a success since we're not dead, Jayuki added with mirth. Kit, we need to get out of here. We may have attracted some unwanted attention with our exit, Kurama advised. Yeah. I'm going. Sheesh, Naruto said, applying suppression seals on his nape to cover his chakra signature. He left the scene in as much speed and stealth he could muster without chakra enhancements. Hiding in the shadows of the trees around him, he noticed there are paths and structures in the forest. On second thought, it's not a forest but a large park. Who the hell makes a park the size of Konoha? Naruto thought to himself. It took 10 seconds for him to reach the clearing of the park. Still hiding from the shadows, Naruto took notice of the world he landed on. What he saw awed and surprised him. Buildings higher than the Hokage monument everywhere, carriages running without horses or ox, bright lights that reach for the sky, and people, lots and lots of people. All were looking towards where he came from. Holy shit, Isabu drawled out. Imagine climbing one of those. Sungaku blurted out. You're really just big monkey, aren't you? Kokuo teased. We need a base of operations while we figure out how this world works. Seiken said. Yeah. Let me try something. I feel we are still not far enough from where we came. Naruto said. Getting hydration kunao from his pocket, he threw it hard at a 45-degree angle to maximize distance and to miss any buildings in its immediate path. When he felt the kunao stopped, he asked Kurama, "Any people near where that kunao landed?" "None from what I can tell." Kurama replied. "Okay, here goes nothing." With a flash of light, he's gone. The Triskelion, Washington, D.C. March 28, 2005, 21:15 Local. An unassuming man is moving quickly down the corridor to report to his boss. Tension can clearly be seen even if he is feigning a calm exterior. Everyone can see it, causing them to move aside to let him through. He's a Caucasian wearing tailored suit and black leather shoes. He has dark brown hair and a receding hairline. He is Agent Phil Coulson, the right-hand man of the Director of the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division or SHIELD. An expert in information gathering, stealth, and diplomacy, he has already seen more things than people would believe and can keep his calm through even some of the most chaotic of scenarios. He is generally considered an easygoing individual with a great sense of humor. To find him reacting this way would mean an entirely unprecedented event occurred. Reaching his destination, he knocked twice and entered the office. He saw his boss pacing back and forth behind his desk while talking on the phone. "Yes, Mr. President. We already have a quick response team on site with a secondary team en route." "Yes. Yes, sir, we'll send an update when able. Goodbye, sir." Facing Coulson is an intimidating bald African-American man. He is wearing an all-black combat attire covered by a black leather trench coat. Another notable characteristic is a black eye patch covering his left eye, covering a large scar running across it. "What the hell happened, Coulson? I had to find out in 083 event from POTUS. Good thing we had people close by who at least had the brains to check it out and take control of the situation. Now I'm going to ask with all the calm that I can muster. What the fuck is going on?" The man known as Nick Fury asked, finally ending his tirade. Nicholas Fury, or simply known as Nick Fury, is the director of SHIELD. SHIELD is formed to protect the world from things they are not ready to know, and at its head is the quintessential spy. If one thinks of spies, he is what usually forms in your head. He's an expert on deep infiltration, espionage, and assassination. He had toppled governments, assassinated world leaders. Basically, he changed the world. There isn't much known about him, and that's the way he likes it. Handing over a tablet that contains the information on the event, Coulson answered the tirade like a professional. On 2030 hours, an energy surge was recorded on the north side of Central Park. Our sensors didn't record the event since the energy surge is what would be considered harmless. The event just released the energy as purely visible light, which is really strange. Accidental recording of the event, which is already circling social media, showed the light emitted exceeds the brightness of the sun. A large number of people who were accidentally looking at the direction as it happened are already checking into hospitals due to visual issues. The teams on site are already cordoning off the area with the help of local law enforcement. Our New York branch techs are just 3 minutes away. While looking at the tablet, Fury is formulating a plan of attack and running multiple scenarios in his head. With a plan formed, he ordered Coulson, "I want you on a flight to New York with our tech with all the toys you can bring. Take another 10 agents for investigation and bring Barton with you. He can see things others don't." Commercial or private?" Coulson asked. A hardened stare is an answer he received. "Right, the Quinjet it is. I'll just get going then, sir. I'll send Romanoff as your relief team as soon as she gets back from California." Coulson nodded and walked out of the office, readying himself for another mission. The Triskelion, Washington, D.C. March 28, 2005, 21:45 Local agent Clint Barton is in a meeting room waiting to be briefed about an urgent mission he just been informed about. He is already on his way to the dormitories after his daily workout and conditioning when he has been called back through his phone. He really would like to complain about his working hours if only he had one. Being a high-level SHIELD agent meant that he had irregular hours and can be called at any time. He already changed into his standard sleeveless SHIELD combat uniform. His trusty weapon in a carry case beneath the table. Some would describe Agent Barton serious guy on a mission but easygoing and relatable off of it. He is also considered a special kind of prodigy. He has a recorded eyesight of 25ths, near perfect recall, and an outstanding eye-to-hand coordination. A master marksman in most conventional weaponry by 18 and a gifted infiltrator specializing in assassination and bodyguard missions. What makes people consider him a little weird is his choice of weaponry, which is the bow and arrow. Shield Tech has upgraded his choice of weapon to allow him to deal with many situations with just a change of the arrow tip that can be remotely changed. Looking around the room, he counted 20 people in the room, excluding himself. Based on his observations, 10 of them are definitely field agents, and the other 10 are techs. This looks like big op with this many field agents, but why in the hell do we need this many techs? Barton thought to himself. Technicians or techs are their scientists. They usually stay in the labs, but certain circumstances may need them. He tapped the shoulder of the field agent in front of him and asked, "Got any idea what all this is about?" No, sir. I have just been called from leave. I haven't even started yet." Sir." The agent answered in a nervous tone when he recognized who was asking him. Not receiving any information, he spied a tech looking in his phone. He walked over to the tech at the other side of the room. Barton asked, "You have any news about the op?" "I may have some idea, Agent Barton," the tech answered. All the people in the room are now focused on the conversation. "Well," Agent Barton urged the tech to continue. Yes." Browsing at his phone. At approximately 8:30 this evening, a bright flashlight was observed at Central Park, showing the video playing on his phone to the audience in the room. Since our sensors didn't record any spike either in infrared, UV, radiation, or otherwise, the only explanation left is that the event is just like a large flashlight, only just a few stops brighter than the sun. We are currently unable to form any hypothesis about the event. Well, that's basically the gist of what I'm gonna say. A new voice was heard from the doorway. Everybody swung their heads to who it is. "Hey, Phil. You're the one who called us in?" Barton asked. Coulson walked over to the podium and said, "No. Orders came from Fury himself with urging from the president." "Wow. So this is a big deal, huh? When are we going to go?" "In half an hour. I want everyone to pack for at least a week. Bring all the sensors, machines, or doodads that you may need, and you might think unavailable at the New York field office. We're going to take a Quinjet to our hotel and start tomorrow morning." Coulson ordered. "You heard him, let's go." Barton urged the people in the room when no one stood up. The people in the room started to file out quickly to prepare for travel. "How bad is it?" Barton asked Coulson with a touch of worry in his voice. "Not as bad as you might think." Coulson significantly calmed down from his earlier state. "It is considered an 083 event. It just caused minor panic to the populace. You know New York, if it doesn't affect them, they don't care. The president is just concerned since he's going to run for re-election, and New York is one of his big bases. What concerns Fury, on the other hand, is what we should worry about. We have no idea what caused the event. Zilch, zero, nada. Remember what the tech said about the sensors?" "Yeah. What's so special about it?" "Nothing was recorded about the event. No spikes in the infrared, UV, or radiation. That just doesn't happen. No phenomenon, artificial or natural, can form this amount of visible light without some byproduct. Even a flashlight produces heat." Coulson explained. "So what is your take on this?" "'Cause my money's on aliens." Barton offered his opinion. "Maybe, but I doubt it. My gut says it's going to big." "Well, shit. How many times is your gut wrong?" "Not much." "Well, I hope you're wrong." They separate from each other at the corridor's intersection with a sense of foreboding on what is to come. Mojave Desert, California, 2005. A man suddenly in the middle of the desert. "God damn it, Karama. Why didn't you tell me it landed that fucking far? I really hate those long-range gyrations." Naruto complained. "Well, you didn't ask. At least it's not as bad as that gyration gate you made. That's just a doozy." Karama replied, "I really like this place. Can we stay here, please?" Shikaka said with extreme enthusiasm. "No way, only you can love this place, Sand Brain." Isabu countered, "Huh? What did you just say?" "All right. Shut up." Jioki roared at the two. Naruto looked around and observed where he landed. It looked like he landed in the middle of a desert. The sun is just setting, leaving a beautiful image to behold. There are no structures anywhere in sight, only some mountain ranges on the horizon. He looked down on his feet and saw a small crater only half a foot in diameter. At the center, his gyration kunao. "Thanks, Jioki. We're not going to stay here, Isabu. There's almost nothing here. It might be perfect for a base if we're hiding, But we need information. Kurama, can you figure out where are the largest cities near here? Naruto said. Look to your left. There's a large city there. It has more people than the whole land of fire combined or. Kurama said after feeling out for a while. Let's go there. It's close to the ocean. Isabu interrupted. Or. Kurama continued completely ignoring Isabu. You could look to your right and go there. It's significantly closer and smaller. Naruto looked at both directions, thinking of what to do. After some time, he finally created a plan of attack. He reached for the chakra suppression tag on his neck that burnt due to the use of hydration. He placed it in one of the storage seals tattooed on his arm. He then created a shadow clone and handed over a hydration kunao and a sealing tag to it. Go to the city to the left. Find some out-of-the-way area in the city and hide the kunao. Use the tag to siphon of chakra from me. Create 1,000 shadow clones and collect information there. I'll come over later. Yes, boss. The clone saluted and ran to execute his orders. And don't forget to use henge. Naruto shouted over to the clone. Are you sure that's a great idea? Kurama asked. What's the worst that could happen? Don't jinx us, kid. He picked up the kunao on the ground and placed it again in his storage seal. He then ran to the opposite direction of his clone as fast as he can. Edwards Air Force Base, California, March 28, 2005. 1735 H. Local. Edwards Air Force Base is an Air Force installation built in 1933, approximately 35 kilometers NE of Los Angeles. Throughout the years, it served as one of the military bases used to defend the American western seaboard. With the advancement of space exploration and military technology, the Edwards AFB is one of the military bases which has a close working relationship with National Aeronautics and Space Administration or NASA, due to its close proximity with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, and Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency or DARPA, due to its close proximity with Stark Industries which is one of their partners. Because of the working relationships with these government agencies, several experimental and advanced technologies are housed or controlled in this base. Of the dozens of technology being tested, 2 things would detect one of the first signs of Naruto. The first is an experimental detection system invented by Stark Industries. Laser Diffusion Detection Relay, or simply called LDR, is an advanced detection and mapping system that can be used to accurately guide short-range missiles or help small-scale logistical planning. It uses a short series of prisms and satellite relays to diffuse high and low energy lasers to create a real-time 3D rendition of the environment up to 250 kilometers away. It won't penetrate inside buildings or houses, but it can be used to see people and cars' motion in a surprising amount of detail. Currently, it can't detect colors due to the limited amount of detail the lasers can detect. The amount of data processed by the system would require a supercomputer to process about 200 gigabytes of data a second, which the technology at that time could barely achieve. The second is a group of satellites working in unison to produce high-quality real-time surveillance video or picture. It is called God's Eyes, or Geo-Orbital Diametric Synchronization Identification and Surveillance. Developed by DARPA with the help of NASA, this was designed to capture surveillance photos of high-value targets for future operations. A total of 8 probe satellites and 1 primary satellite are positioned in a way that all satellites are in geosynchronous orbit within the same plane while maintaining a far distance with each other as possible. The primary satellite would always be placed in the center of an octagonal plane made by the probe satellites. Each probe satellite is equipped with a high-quality reflection telescope with each centimeter of the mirror capable of minute adjustments to offset the atmosphere's refraction of light. The primary satellite would be the central relay of all the probe satellites and would always be directly overhead the target area. The photo or video produced is a compilation of 9 different camera angles of the same area taken at the same time. This would help the computer create a high-quality 3D model of the area. The quality of the photo or video developed is comparable to shots taken only 5 meters away. The maximum area of capture is 100 kilometers diameter, with quality decreasing the further the target is from the center. Technical Sergeant Jonah Hernandez is relaxing in front of his workstation, waiting for dinner. He enlisted for the Air Force to achieve his dream of flying around the world while still serving his country as his father, Captain Joaquin Hernandez of the Army. Well, he is currently not flying anything but some paper airplanes in his barracks now and again. But at least he gets to play with the cool new toys developed by the military, since he is one of the smarter persons in the base. He is currently the test handler of the ladder system. He sometimes just spies on some random people going about their lives, but now, something more serious has been picked up by the system. That can't be right. Hernandez said to himself while looking at the notification on his screen. It is showing that an approximately 25 centimeters long object traveled at supersonic speeds and crash-landed near the edge of the visible zone. Hey Collins, can you take a look at this for me? Hernandez called Technical Sergeant Elizabeth Collins, the technical operator of the God's IS system. Walking over to Hernandez's station, he hunched over and looked over the data in the monitor. Turning over the rendered map a couple of times and playing back the replay a couple of times, she finally said, "What the hell is that? Is that a rocket?" "No, too small. It's showing it crashed from somewhere east." "I know, I'm looking at it too. Don't give me attitude. You're the one who called me here." Yeah, I'm sorry. But can you use the eye to look at what happened? I know it's over Vegas near the crash site." "Apology accepted. Give me a second." Walking back to her station, she opened the latest data packet she received from the satellite. Scrolling the time bar to the target time and closing upon the area, she watched what happened. "Hernandez, you are going to want to call the general after seeing this," Collins finally said. Hernandez walked over and saw the video playing on the screen. "Fuck. What the hell was that? Where the hell did he come from?" Hernandez reacted. In the video, a three-pronged knife crashed in the desert. 2 seconds after that, a man wearing a jacket appeared on top of the knife. He looked disoriented for a moment. He looked around while talking to someone. He then multiplied out of thin air and handed over another of those weird knives and a piece of paper. The doppelganger then ran at least 250 kilometers per hour towards LA until he was out of satellite range. The original then picked up the knife and ran towards Las Vegas at similar speeds. "I'm going to create a copy of this." "You create a copy of the report you've got from the ladder," Collins finally said after Hernandez is done freaking out. "For what?" Hernandez replied, still a little on edge. "We are going to report this to the general." "Move it, come on. We need to catch him before he leaves." Hernandez nodded in agreement with Collins's suggestion. The two quickly made copies of everything and compiled them in a folder. They both locked their stations and ran towards the door. They left the experimental relay room and biometrically locked it to make sure that the room can't be tampered with. Hernandez looked at the guard posted outside the room and ordered, "Whatever happens, don't let anyone in. We need to bring something to the general." The guard saluted to confirm he received the order. The two then jogged quickly to the administration building and saw the general just walking over to his service car. They ran over to him and saluted. Technical Sergeant Collins and Hernandez, "Sir. We are operators for some experimental projects, sir. We have observed some irregularities that need to be brought to your attention, sir," Collins said while extending her hand to pass the folder. They looked nervously to the man at the imposing man before them. Brigadier General Colin the Titan Powell is a 6 feet 1 inch African-American man renowned for his no-nonsense attitude and his support for injured vets. He has short black hair and wears wire-rimmed glasses. He earned his nickname during the First Gulf War when he was just a captain. He was leading a 15-man unit of Air Force Special Operations Command tasked to take out the land-to-land missiles obtained by Saddam Hussein. The mission was continuing smooth until it all went foobar during their retreat. 3 members died while the rest of them received various injuries. Only General Collins was lightly injured since he was calling for the extract chopper. He almost single-handedly fought off waves of enemy combatants and defended his unit. He then carried all his unit members, even the dead ones, to the extraction point. 10 members survived the op. He was then called the Titan since he carried all of his units, just like the Titan Atlas. The general stared at the two for a moment before he extended his hand to take the folder. After a few seconds looking over the folder, the general leaned over and knocked on the car window. It rolled down, and the general said with a low voice, "Circle back to the parking. I'll call you in 30 minutes if I need to be picked up." "Yes, sir," the driver said and drove off. Looking over to the two sergeants, the general said, "Follow me." The general turned around and walked back inside the building. Sloan, Nevada, 2005. Slow down, kid. We are getting close. We don't want to tip our hand too early. Kurama said. "Okay." Naruto replied. "Hey, there's some road over there." He started when he saw a clearing on the horizon. He walked towards the road to make sure he doesn't attract any unwanted attention. After 20 minutes of walking, he finally reached the road. Whoa, wherever we are, this country sure is rich. Who makes road out of concrete and in the middle of nowhere? Naruto mused. He then looked over the sign by the side of the street. He stared at it for some time and hanged his head low. I can't read it. Naruto said sadly. Of course you can't read it. We're in another world. We probably won't be able to understand them either. Kurama replied. The Baijos are hundreds of years old. A byproduct living that long is being able to learn a whole bunch of languages. I think I can make a temporary fix for the speaking thing. Hold on a minute. He then walked over a rock and sat down. He unsealed some ink and paper and drew some intricate design. When he's done, he placed the sealing tag on his nape and activated it. That should cover it for a while. I'll be going to be able to understand them, and when I'm speaking, the tag will convert my words to something they can understand. It even applies a small genjutsu to allow the person to see the corresponding mouth motion for what they would understand. Awesome, right? Naruto explained proudly. Good job. Take a cookie. Kurama replied, oozing with sarcasm. Naruto pouted because of Kurama's reply. We need to reach the city before nightfall. You are going to continue walking. Jioki said. Roger. After another 30 minutes of walking, a carriage without a horse stopped next to him and made that god-awful sound. He stopped and looked at a sleek-looking carriage, odd by its design. The window opened, and an angelic voice asked, You need a ride. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 28, 2005, 1900 H. Local. The Black Widow. One of the boogeymen of the world's politicians and elites. There are no missions she couldn't handle. No person she couldn't assassinate, no information she couldn't extract. No mission she wouldn't do for the right price. Originally named Natalia Romanova, she's a 5 feet 7 inches Russian woman with a face and body to die for. She has red hair and green eyes. Considered the best of Russia's Re-Room Black Widow program, a brutal training to create the perfect spies for Russia to use. Graduated in the program in 1999 at the young age of 14. She worked exclusively for Russia's intelligence agency, KGB, until she left and gone AWOL in 2001. She made a name for herself doing work for the highest bidder and having an almost perfect record. SHIELD took an interest in her a year later. SHIELD sent their best agent to kill or capture the Black Widow. They sent Agent Clint Barton or Hawkeye. SHIELD was interested in the possible information the Black Widow may have on one of their high-value targets taken from one of her hits. Barton finally cornered her in Minsk after almost a month of cat-and-mouse chase. When Barton saw her, he recognized something familiar in her eyes. While holding her at arrow point, he asked, You got a lot of red on your ledger. Want some help cleaning it up? That's what sealed the deal for the infamous Black Widow. She surrendered to SHIELD and offered to work for them in exchange for immunity. She went for 6 months of intensive accelerated course for SHIELD agents and passed with flying colors. Fury considered her as one of the best steals he got. Barton became her go-to partner due to the close working and personal relationship they developed in the past 2 years. She currently only takes her orders from Director Fury himself. She is currently on her way to Las Vegas to relax and unwind. It's one of the perks for being placed so high up in the food chain. You can get vacation time for every top priority mission, although she doesn't do this often. Her latest mission is taking care of a Chinese spy working as an engineer in Stark Industries. The whole mission was a textbook operation except for the high-profile position of the spy inside the company. His sudden disappearance would cause some reaction from the company. She's driving down I-15 in her advance release, and SHIELD upgraded Koenigsegg CCX when she saw a man walking just past Jean Sport Aviation Center. She usually would drive past the guy, but all her instincts are telling her to pull over. She slowed down to a stop beside the guy, rolled down the passenger side window, honked her horn and asked, You need a ride? She observed the man as young as herself. Standing at 6 feet 2 inches with a solid build, he wore a dark orange zip-up hoodie, black shirt, and cargo pants. She saw his piercing cerulean eyes, medium-length golden blonde hair with 2 longer strands framing his face, and finally, what might look like as whiskers by his cheek, adding a wild vibe to his whole persona. He's looking awestruck at her car. It's still a little flattering to see someone appreciate a top-of-the-line peak of human engineering. When the man heard her question, he looked a little surprised and looked at her. He thought for a second and said, Are you talking to me? Yes, I'm talking to you. There's nobody else here, right? She answered in a playful tone. The man scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. He, sorry. Sure, I would like a ride if you wouldn't mind. Come on, hop on in. Natasha automatically opened the door. When the man settled in the chair, the door automatically closed, and she drove off. Thanks for the ride. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, by the way. The man, now known as Naruto, introduced himself. No problem. I'm Natalie Rockfort. Natasha said in response, using one of her aliases. The spy business is a pretty unpredictable profession. Even the smallest of slip-ups can lead to death. It's better to be safe than sorry. Looking over the guy discreetly, she's looking for any sign of deception on his part. You don't get this good being a spy without being able to find out if someone is lying or not. Your parents must really like whirlpools, Natasha said conversationally. Due to her profession, she's fluent in over 20 languages, and one of them is Japanese. Ha. I guess. I never really thought about it like that. Naruto said awkwardly. Trying to change the subject, he asked, where are you going, by the way? Vegas. Trying to see my luck on the slots. How about you? Natasha asked. She's still trying to pick up some information from him. I notice your lack of luggage or even a bag, she added. Yeah, about that. I kind of lost it, including all of my cash. I am hoping to win at least a little bit to carry on. Naruto laid out his plan. When she saw the skeptical look on her, he continued. Bad plan. Yes. Stupid plan. Well, I don't know about that. I've always considered myself a little lucky. I mean, look at me, a beautiful woman just picked me up by an awesome car. I thought it only happens in movies. He said the last part in a sincere tone. Ha. Laying it a little thick there, aren't you, Whiskers? But I gotta say, you're not the only guy who went to Vegas to try their luck, but you're the only guy who walked all the way to Vegas to play. Natasha said, genuinely amused. I have no problems walking, but I kinda liked this. Traveling in style. Naruto replied, brushing over his new nickname. Naruto then proceeded to look all over inside the car. He paid particular attention to the dash where the clock is. After the perusal of the interior, he asked, so, what do you do for a living? I work for Stark Industries as a public relations manager. I just got off this afternoon. You? Natasha answered, immediately using her cover story. I'm between jobs since I just moved here. I want to leave it all behind. I was a freelance contractor. Doing odd jobs here and there. Nothing special, really. Naruto said, telling half lie. Being a shinobi really meant being a freelance contractor that can be hired by almost anyone to do almost everything, even as mundane as painting a fence. That answer set of alarms in her mind, but the only outward change visible is the subtle narrowing of her eyes. She used that excuse too many times before to not recognize it. He's not a spy, or at least not an experienced one. No self-respecting would get caught unaware like this. So maybe an assassin? Or maybe an ex-military. I got too little information to know. She thought to herself. MGM Grand Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 28, 2005, 1715 local. It looks like we're here. What's your plan? Natasha asked while stepping off the car and walking to the back to pick up her luggage. Naruto followed her to the back of the vehicle. I don't really know. I might walk around for a while and maybe get lucky and find a chip or cash on the ground. Happened to me before. She took the bag from her trunk and closed it. She then walked over to the valet and then proceeded to move towards the hotel's front of the entrance. Well, good luck to you. I hope we get to see each other again. Same here. Thanks again for the ride. Naruto said, and finally walking away. Natasha then walked to the front desk to book a room. She immediately got one, and after signing in her information, she headed to her room. After checking into a hotel room and sweeping for bugs, a habit she picked up from her work, she took her phone from her bag and turned on its encryption feature. She then called Fury. Hello, Romanoff. How's your vacation? Fury greeted in a gruff voice. All is well, boss. I'm in Vegas right now, going to play some craps for a week. Natasha said. But that's not why I called. I need someone checked through the system. Okay. What's the name, and why should I run him or her? Fury asked with a touch of curiosity. Natasha's phone has access to its database. The only explanation she would let HYDRA run the check is if there is something about the person he needs to know about. Him. The name's Naruto Uzumaki. 6 feet 4 inches, blonde hair, blue eyes, possibly Japanese ancestry due to his name. Natasha described. Picked him up near Sloan on my way to Vega walking by the side of the road. Oh, by the way, he has whiskers. She continued. On the other side of the line, Fury is inputting the details on his computer when he suddenly paused and said, "Excuse me? Whiskers?" "Yes, whiskers," Natasha said in a deadpan tone. "Don't tell me you're making me search for him because of whiskers," Fury said in a tone of disbelief. "Come off it, boss. I'm asking you to run him since he's walking by the side of the road with nothing but the clothes on his back. Didn't even look a little sweaty or fatigued. Considering where I found him, he must have been walking for hours. So, maybe he's from the military." "No, too young, he looked like my age. Late teens, early 20s. He also said he was a freelance contractor who just moved to the US to leave it all behind. That's what caused me to be wary of him. That should be easier. If he moved here, he should have a record somewhere," Fury was saying when he heard the computer ping. On the screen, it says "No match found." Romanoff, there's no match anywhere in the system. Maybe he used an alias. Fuck. Natasha said under her breath. "I'll send over my car's interior camera feed, can you match the face? I just got feeling about him," Natasha said, hoping to find something about the guy. "I'll see what would come up." "You're really hung up on him, huh?" Fury said with a teasing tone. "Oh, and by the way, don't fly to DC. Head straight to New York. Your team will meet you there." "Team? I rarely operate with a team, especially on local soil. It's not that kind of op. You'll lead the relief team sent to New York to investigate an 083 event that happened in Central Park. POTUS is riding my ass about it since it happened. I'll send you the details." "Roger. Don't cut your vacation. Carlson and Barton are on site. Relax for now." "Thanks, boss. Good night," Romanoff said, then hanged up the phone. She remotely downloaded the video from her car, then sent it to Fury. "Who the hell are you?" Natasha mused to herself, and then she went to bed. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 28, 2005, 17:30 H. Local Achu. Somebody's thinking about you. Maybe it's the nice girl you met. Komei teased. "Don't get started again on that, Komei, and next time don't start shouting and interjecting the whole time when I'm talking to someone. Confuses the hell out of me," Naruto complained. "Sorry. But you got to admit she's one beautiful woman. Well, at least for a human. I won't dignify that with a response," Naruto answered with a grin, remembering the woman who helped him. "It looks like he picked up some things from his godfather. You know she's lying, right?" Kurama asked. "Oh yeah, big time. The only truth she said is that she was going to relax here. So, what are we gonna do?" Jioki asked. Naruto looked around while walking down the sidewalk. Looking left and right, up and down, he took in his surroundings. Huge buildings in all shapes and sizes. Bright lights everywhere. People. Lots of them. He guessed it's normal in this world's cities. It's like Tanzukugai multiplied by 100 and placed in Suna. What really catches his eyes are the women. Scantily clad, exotic, and beautiful. Ero-sensei would definitely feel like he died and went to heaven. "We need cash. Any ideas on how to get it? We can pick the pocket of someone," Kokuo said. "Underground fight. I saw some posters of fights. If there are legitimate ones, there sure are to be underground ones," Son Goku added with excitement. "Or you can turn back and play at the casino, see if Lady Luck loved you so much she followed you across universes," Kurama suggested. "All good points, but we need money for the last two. Underground fights would need an entry fee, and casinos like the one we came from have high buy-in. We're going to do all three in that order to get big money," Naruto decided. He walked down a secluded alleyway, looked around to check for people, and made 20 shadow clones, all hung in disguises. "You guys spread out and gather information. Find underground fights with high prize money and one of those guys that can make a fake identity. The more expensive it is, the better. We might need one of those. Dispel when you find one," he ordered the clones. The clones nodded, shined away. He then created another 20 clones and ordered, "You guys pick the pocket of anyone who might look like a rich guy you come across. Just get the cash, then return the wallet from where you took it. We'll meet back here in 1.5 hours." The clones then separated to find marks. Naruto learned to pickpocket since he was a kid. His harsh living conditions due to the hatred of his village resulted in him learning how to do it just to stay alive. Getting punched, choked, or stabbed when he gets caught certainly made for a powerful motivator. Walking out of the alleyway, he just continued his stroll down the sidewalk and just enjoying the view. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 28, 2005, 2100H local. "Alright, how much we've got?" Naruto said to his clones when he came to meet all the clones tasked with picking pockets. "We know you'd ask us that, boss, so we found out how much it is since we don't even know what each of the papers is worth." A clone then dispelled to send the information to the original. The memories of the clone rushed into his mind. He saw he successfully picked 42 marks in 1.5 hours. It also showed 7 denominations of the paper money with its respective appearance called dollars. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100. He also got the memory of the basic number system, which is exactly like what his old world used except FO the symbols for numbers. Good job, guys, but you may have gone a little overboard if the clone that just dispelled is any indication. So how much was our haul? $221,456. A clone said with a touch of giddiness. "I still don't how much that is." Naruto said with a blank look. "We found a store that sells instant ramen." Everyone got a dreamy look on their face imagining the food of the gods. And the cheapest sell them at around $1 after taxes. Whoa. Based on that, we have approximately 2 South class mission pay with us. We're rich. Every clone just nodded vigorously with a smile. "Wait, what do you mean after taxes?" he suddenly asked, noticing the weird wording used by his clone. "Well, from what we gathered, stores just place the base price and add tax when ringing up the purchase. The weird thing is, it's different in different parts of the country. This country is divided into 50 smaller protectorates called states, and each of them has a different tax rate. Ugh, they just had to make it really hard. Sheesh. Okay, guys, great work." The clones one by one handed over the cash and dispelled. He placed a $1,000 of random bills in his pocket and sealed the rest for later use. "That's a lot of money, kid. We can finally go to stage 2. When are we going to fight?" Kurama asked, vibrating with excitement. "Well, 3 of the scouting clones already dispelled. The best one with big money is somewhere north of here in an abandoned warehouse. It looks like a lot of high rollers and VIPs are there, which means a lot of money," Naruto said, remembering the memories of the 3 clones that dispelled. The 17 remaining clones are just now looking for a fixer for fake identification. "Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go." Kurama urged. "Wait a minute. You might kill those guys accidentally. Everyone in this world only has enough chakra to keep them alive. Our civilians are tougher than the civilians of this world," Saiken said. "Might I suggest upping your gravity seals and maximizing the resistance seals? Those would up you from 200 times gravity to 500 times and from resistance level 8 to resistance level 10. Madatabi suggested. "Not a bad idea. Wait a minute," Naruto said while adjusting the seals. He reminisced on how he got those seals, including his storage seal. Flashback start when he decided to remove the Bellagio from the clutches of the hidden villages. He knew he needed to be a seal master just like his parents. He started learning from the only other seal master he knew, his godfather, Jiraiya of the Sunin. After he exhausted all of the knowledge available to his godfather, he prepared for a journey to the land of the master of the seals, Uzumaki. Uzumaki, or the village hidden in the whirlpools, was the home village of his mother. It was also known as the village of longevity due to the long lifespans of the Uzuma. The village without the country was located between fire and water country. The village became known for its seal masters attributed to Uzumaki's natural talent for building up and breaking down seals. Kirigaku, Iwagaku, and Kumagaku felt threatened by Uzumagaku's rise to power. They created an alliance of 120,000 troops which consists of 40,000 shinobis, 70,000 soldiers, and conscripts, and 10,000 samurais. The last 2 were lent by their daimyos with the promise of overwhelming victory and massive spoils. Unfortunately for the alliance, they forgot one tenet of being a shinobi. Never fight a seal master on their own terms. Uzumaki has a population of 15,000. 10,000 of which are combat ready with another 2,000 studying or retired shinobi. Of the total 12,000 available forces, 8,000 of them are seal adepts. 1,000 of which are seal masters. When the alliance came on thousands of ships and pushed through Uzumaki infamous whirlpools, they were expecting the people to tremble in fear and surrender. What they didn't expect is an instant attack the moment they saw the walls. Even against overwhelming odds, the Uzumakis never wavered. They employed all the tricks to hold off the invading forces. They used suicide seal bombs, space-time traps, multi-elemental jutsus, and all the other tricks. 3 days and 2 nights, they hold off the enemy forces expecting their sister village, Konoha, would come to their rescue. But alas, they can't hold of destiny. Their time has come. In a final act of spite, they collected all their possessions. Metal, precious gems, relics, books, and scrolls. All of which are sealed in a single sealing scroll, only to be opened by a mainline Uzumaki. The scroll was then placed inside the country's strongest sealing vault. When all the people able to escape and all their valuables sealed, the remaining 1,000 shinobis sacrificed their lives to fuel a powerful summoning jutsu. They summoned the Death God. Exchange for the lives of 1,000 Uzumaki blood, the Death God would reap the souls of 50,000 enemies, bringing them with them forever in the Death God's stomach to suffer for eternity. When the battle ended, only 3,000 of the 120,000 invading forces remained. Tired and demoralized, they entered the ruined city, expecting some form of loot. What they found were dust and ashes. Scouring the city only yielded them broken furniture, destroyed seals, and leftover home items. The security on the vault located in the depths of the city was unbreakable. Even the path to the vault is heavily trapped, resulting in casualties. By the time they left the city, only 2,800 forces were left. The plan to attack Konoha with the 40,000 shinobis used to attack Uzumaki was now an impossible dream. When Konoha's advanced guard arrived the afternoon of the third day, they only saw the sails of the retreating enemy forces on the horizon. Entering the city with a heavy here they saw broken buildings, empty homes, and thousands of bodies. They saw the Hittite of Kiri, Iwa, and Kumo. They buried every civilian and shinobi of Uza they could find and erected a monument in their honor. They returned to Konoha to inform the Hokage of the failure. As a tribute and a remembrance of their greatest failure, a red Uzumaki swirl is placed on all Konoha flak jackets. Naruto arrived on Uzumaki. He explored the city and found the memorial stone set by Konoha shinobi when they buried the dead. He paid his respects and explored further, hoping to find something he can use or a relic of his ancestors. He then found a tunnel heading deep under the city. The seals recognized his Uzumaki blood and turned off the traps. He reached a vast sealing array at the end of the path. Recognizing an identification array at the left side of the wall, he bit his thumb and pumped chakra to the array. A bright light spread across the whole room, temporarily blinding him. When the light died down, a single 6 feet sealing scroll was in front of the wall. He walked over to the SCR and reaching it with tears of joy in his eyes. When his fingers touched the scroll, his tears of joy became tears of pain. He felt his skin being cut over and over again. When the pain ended, he immediately opened his jacket and shocked by what he saw. Sealing array spread throughout his body, he barely recognized it as a complicated storage seal array. A huge bulk of information assaulted his brains. He recognized the relics, books, and fortune of the Uzumaki clan. With a renewed vigor, he studied all the scrolls and books using shadow clones. Tested thousands of seals. Failure after failure. Success after success. He took a year to learn everything, even with a veritable army of shadow clones. One of the first seals he placed on his body is an upgraded gravity seal. It can increase the gravity felt by the body, but the seal would also counter the downward force outside the body, making the body have the same weight. Even if the seal were set to 1,000, you wouldn't fall through the floor. The resistance seal, on the other hand, would counter all the motions made by the body with an opposite force. Level 1 would be felt similar to walking through water, while level 10 would be equivalent to walking through metal. The best thing about both seals was that it's semi-autonomous. It will automatically raise the level of both seals when a certain level of mobility is achieved. Of course, TH parameters can be changed manually. Flashback end okay. I'm ready. Wow. I haven't moved this slow since I returned to Konoha after the training trip. Naruto mused while performing some simple calisthenics. Come on. We haven't seen any action since you started working on that Hiraishin gate. Kurama complained. You do realize I would not use much chakra, if any, for some underground fight? Naruto said, pointing out the fact that Kurama would not be able to do anything while walking towards the direction where his clone came from. Yeah. I just want to see some fight. Ignore him, Naruto. Remember, theatrics. It will win you over more money. If there's anything I learned from B, the money will come easier with a little theatrics. Jioki advised. After 10 minutes of walking and idle chatter between the Baijuyu and him, he finally reached the warehouse where the fight is happening according to the memory he received from his clone. Walking to the back of the entrance, he knocked on a nondescript wall. An eye hole slid open, and a guy asked with a large gravelly voice, a little dark out, huh? Recognizing a prompt, he recalled the memory for the prompt key. Yeah. Good thing, I just changed the bulb. The eye hole closed, then a clicking sound was heard from the other side. The wall sunk back and slid to the side. Two massive guys greeted him. One dark-skinned and the other light-skinned. Both are bald and wearing a suit. Come on. The dark-skinned guard ordered. Naruto went in and is greeted by a long narrow brick hallway that ends with an intersection. The light-skinned guard closed the door and said, stand over to the wall facing it. The guard then walked towards him and patted him down for weapons. Guest or fighter? Fighter. Naruto said in a confident tone. When the guard finished checking him for weapons, he said, walk to the end of the hall and turn right. Knock on the door twice. Now go. The guard said with finality. Naruto then walked towards the hallway, facing downward. Nobody saw the mischievous grin he has on his face, even by the cameras. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 28, 2005, 21:20 local. Naruto knocked on the door twice as instructed. The door opened a portion of the way, showing a woman dressed in business attire. She had blonde hair and brown eyes. You're going to fight? The woman asked for confirmation. Yeah. Naruto replied. The woman stepped aside and motioned for him to come in. $2,000 entry fee. Every fight you win, you get $5,000. You win 2 fights, and you get in the tournament later. It's an all-or-nothing game. You get to take home $250,000, 5% of the gate, and 10% of your betting pool. The woman informed him in a brisk tone. Sign here before you fight, the woman continued while showing him a piece of paper. Naruto signed the paper with an alias of Menma. He then placed his hands in his pocket, unsealed some cash, and made a show of counting the money before placing $2,000 on the table. He then placed the remaining money in his pocket and sealed it again. When your number is called, you go to the ring. Your number is 32. When Naruto started walking towards the fighters' waiting area indicated by a huge assortment of guys wearing gloves, bandages, or just generally looking intimidating, he remembered something. He turned around to face the woman again. After he finally got the attention of the woman back, he asked, "Can I make a bet?" "Sure. But you can't make a bet on you losing." "Oh, never even crossed my mind. Is there a limit on the bets?" The woman looked weirdly at him for a second and said, "Minimum bet is $1,000. Okay." He unsealed in his pockets 2 bundles of cash in his pocket and took it out. "I'm betting $100,000 that I'm going to win the whole thing, and another $100,000 that I'm gonna knock out every one of my opponents flat in under a minute," he said with a goofy smile on his face. This got the attention of everyone in the waiting room. The woman immediately regained her composure. She took the cash and noted it down without another word. Every one of his opponents is now giving him a hardened glare. He just shrugged off all the attention and walked to the far side of the room, giving him the vantage point to see everything in the place. He leaned back to the wall and lowered his hood to partially cover his eyes while making a note to buy some shades. He observed everyone in the room. He was taking note of their physique and mannerisms. He would have liked to use his dojutsu, but it just wouldn't be fair. He would be able to see all the weaknesses of his opponents. He saw that out of all the competitors, excluding himself, only 5 can compete with the average genin. That is, of course, without the use of chakra. The observation just made him sad. Is this what this world's fighters look like? That's just pathetic. Kurama said with a hint of disbelief. Isn't that better? We could relax and take it easy. Isabu countered. Well, yeah. But we won't have any entertainment. Ugh, We can just find other entertainment. It won't be the end of the world. While the conversation of the Baijiu inside him continued, numbers 9 and 10 were called. A 6 feet 6 inches African-American guy with a beard that has been eyeing him for a while approached him. He scanned him up and down. After a few seconds, the guy said, "You don't look much. I'll enjoy turning you to a paste." Without missing a beat, the guy walked out of the room. He must be number 9 or 10. After 30 minutes, he and the last guy in the room were called. His opponent, number 31, is a 6 Caucasian with developed muscles. He walked with confidence ahead of him. When they reached the end of the hallway, he saw an octagonal cage. It looked to be around 30 feet in diameter stage on top of a 4 feet platform. The enclosure is 6 feet in height, completely enclosing the ring. A lot of seats are surrounding the ring, all of them wearing suits or dresses. This should be interesting, at least. Naruto said to himself. He followed the instructions of the man to go to one side of the stage. He removed his hoodie to reveal his long-sleeve shirt. He walked up the stage and entered the cage. He walked to the center until he was face to face with his opponent. The referee approached them and said, "This is a no-holds-bar fight. I'm the only rule here. You either win by your opponent tapping out, or I say you win. When I end the fight, you end the fight. No questions asked. You both understand?" They both nodded. "Okay, after you tap your fist, you start." The referee then walked to the side of the ring. Naruto's opponent keeps glaring at him. His answer, a bored expression. This just served to annoy his opponent more. Naruto raised his right fist to signify he would like to start the fight. 31 lifted his left fist and tapped it. The guy suddenly charged at him and drove his right fist hard straight to his face. Almost everyone thought it's another disappointing fight. The sad thing was, they were right. Number 31 suddenly toppled over and started coughing up blood. The audience can see that Naruto's left hand was now positioned for what was a body blow. The referee approached number 31 to check his condition. After a while, he stood up and signaled for the end of the fight. Naruto started walking away while muttering, "But that's just a love tap." The audience heard this and started replacing some of their bets. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 0200H. Local Naruto and number 9, now known as Mike Lucas when his name was called for the final fight, is standing in the middle of the ring. He was the one who threatened Naruto to tur him into a paste. The fight announcer is typing out the crowd and calling for the end of the betting. Both of them easily dominated their own brackets until they met in the finals. Although Lucas stands at 6 feet 6 inches, he is swift and robust, allowing him to overwhelm his opponents with simple punches or grapple moves while dodging enemy attacks. Naruto, on the other hand, just tanks the blows and then delivering a devastating counter-attack, quickly dispatching his opponents. "What kind of a name is Menma?" Lucas mocked, pulling Naruto of his musing. "It's the only name I have." Naruto lied, then looked away, looking disinterested. "I still don't know how you got here. There are a lot of guys who's better than you," Lucas continued to say, trying to pull Naruto out of his calm demeanor. "Huh? Did you say something?" Naruto said, pulling a move from his sensei. "That's it. You're dead," growled out Lucas. The referee approached them and explained the rules of the fight again. After finishing his explanation, he moved over to the side of the ring. The opponents both tapped their right fists with each other, and then Lucas moved away while maintaining his boxer's stance. Lucas is looking for any opening his opponent has, and that proved to be easy. Naruto is looking genuinely relaxed, leaving a lot of holes in his defense. Lucas rushed Naruto, intending to land a punch to his jaw, hoping to end the fight quickly. When his fists made contact with his opponent's jaw, he felt like crying out in pain. It felt like punching a block of steel. A fist is suddenly flying towards his face. Only his experience and physique helped him dodge Naruto's counter by the skin of his teeth. He moves back to gain some breathing room. "Hey. You're pretty fast," Naruto said. With a smile forming at his face, Naruto lowered his body into a basic academy-style stance. He had copied a large variety of fighting still before he left the elemental nations. The basic academy style should be more than enough for this level of opponent. Lucas reassured himself that the previous engagement was just a fluke. He knows he can win with the tried and tested method of overwhelming the enemy with force and speed. He rushed forward significantly quicker. He rained punches on Naruto's head and body. throwing out hooks, straight, uppercut, and body blows. He opted out to use kicks since he needs his feet to move quickly out of the way if Naruto ever tried to retaliate. Each punch he threw increased his confidence right until he felt his feet kicked right under him. The force of the blow almost fractured his leg. This caused his body to be momentarily unbalanced, causing him to take a blow to his right kidney. It felt like a car crashed into him, causing him to fold over. When he was falling down to his knees, Naruto threw a perfectly timed left uppercut, effectively keeping him upright but dazed. Seeing the world spinning and doubled, he finally knew he bit off more than he can chew. Naruto moved back half a step and whirled, turning it to a brutal roundhouse kick. It laid out Mike Lucas, immediately turning his lights off. A few pieces of tooth flew out of his mouth, alongside spit and blood. Seeing the state of Lucas, the referee immediately raised Naruto's hand, indicating he won the fight. Naruto was led to a back room where he could collect his winnings. Summing up all the money he won, including his bets, which accounts for the majority of his winnings, he racked up $1,220,000, bringing his total available cash to $1,239,456. He placed all his winning into a backpack to avoid using his storage seal. Naruto walked out of the warehouse with the intent of getting food in one of those convenience stores in a motel to sleep in when he sensed a large group of people circling H position. When he reached the front of the warehouse, a 5 feet 11 inches Caucasian man walked up to him. He has a shaved head and a monocle on his right eye. He extended his hand for handshake. "Good evening, or should I say good morning, Mr. Menma." Naruto immediately shook the man's hand, outwardly showing a friendly and open attitude, but on the inside, he's already on guard. He ordered Kurama to scan the surrounding for possible hostile intent. "You have me at a disadvantage here, Mr. Strucker. Baron Wolfgang von Strucker." The two unclasped their hands and looked at each other for a moment, trying to get a read on each other. After a few more seconds, Naruto asked, "Well, Mr. Strucker, I doubt you would approach me at this time without some form of business." "Ah, a straight-to-the-point kind of guy. I like it. Mr. Menma, I represent a certain organization with the intent of helping the world to achieve a higher level of greatness. Your skills and physical capabilities would be a great boon for us," Baron Strucker said with a friendly smile. Naruto acted like he was thinking about it positively for a while. The organization he spoke of is highly dubious. What kind of organization with the intent of helping people has 25 probably heavily armed guards surrounding a man they are trying to recruit, recruits people with questionable background found in an underground fight, or aims for people with high skill and physical level for helping people? It all just stinks to high heaven. He concluded that this organization is a lot like Akatsuki. He just has no idea how right he is. "So, what do you want from me?" Naruto finally said. "I would like you to join us in our endeavor." Strucker replied. "If I join, what would be my job and its benefits?" Naruto asked, showing his interest. "With your skills, you would mostly be doing escort work of our high-level executives while doing some odd jobs here and there. As for pay, we pay on the high side of the spectrum with exceptional personal benefits." "Wow. That's just awesome. I really would love to sign up." "But," Strucker said, sensing the continuation of the sentence, "I just left my previous job, and I'm on vacation. I'm going to tour the world a bit before everything else. But I would like to sign up if it's still available, maybe in a year." Naruto offered to get this organization off his back while he's still adjusting to the world. Strucker nodded and took a small card from his pocket. He gave it to Naruto and said, "That's acceptable. That there is my personal information and contact details, both office and personal. I hope to hear from you soon. Good day, Mr. Menma." With the final statement, Strucker left. Naruto just stood by the sidewalk while acting like he was looking at the card when in reality, he is sensing where Strucker and his guards would go. As he was looking at the card, though, he sensed an underlying current of electricity inside. He guessed that the card has some kind of tracking technology in it. To be safe, he used a small pulse of lightning release, electromagnetic murder in his hands to fry the circuit inside the card. Naruto then walked down the street when he sensed he's finally alone, intent on having a meal and ending his long first day in another world. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 0315H local. "Sir," the beacon in the card stopped responding. An assistant said to Strucker while inside the car. He's not as stupid as I thought. What to do, what to do? Strucker said while tapping his chin. Prioritizing his goals, he built up a plan. I want his movement tracked. Send me a report every month. He looks like he might be a great addition to HYDRA. I just hoped he would make the right choice. I would hate to be less than a gentleman. WHE inquiring how he achieved a high level of human conditioning at such a young age. Even if he's busy, we can use him for super soldier experimentation. Yes, sir. The assistant acknowledged the order. HYDRA has no idea what calamity they would bring to themselves. Cause no head would grow on a HYDRA if there is nobody left. Edwards Air Force Base, California, March 29, 2005, 0300H local. The general and the two technical sergeants have been poring over the recordings and the reports all through the night trying to make sense of the occurrence. They first considered it as a glitch in the system but immediately scrapped that idea. The systems are operational, and no errors are found even through a rigorous battery of tests. General Powell has opted out of going home to study the instantaneous appearance of the man in the middle of the Mojave Desert. This mysterious man obviously constitutes a breach in national security. If he is capable of showing up like that anywhere, what's to say he won't be able just to show up inside the White House and assassinated the president without anyone being able to do anything? Worse yet, he can get in anywhere and take anything out, like nuclear launch codes. Do anyone else know about this or have a copy of this recording? General Powell asked the two sergeants seriously. No, sir. We immediately took this to you. The only copy left is in the system hard drive you locked down. Collins replied. Good, from now on, this is classified above top secret for eyes only. You will forget this ever happened unless addressed explicitly by the President, the Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs, and me. Is that understood? Powell said while giving them a hard glare. Yes, sir. The two sergeants saluted. Okay, you both are dismissed. Take a week off, but keep your phone with you in case you are needed to be called over. The two sergeants saluted and walked off, nervousness and fatigue radiating from their bodies. The general took his office phone and dialed a number. The phone rang 3 times until someone answered on the other side. This is General Colin Powell, service ID number 58345244. The general said, early in the morning for you, General. What can I do for you? A female voice replied. I need to set up a teleconferencing meeting with all the Chief of Staff and POTUS as soon as possible. This is a code orange emergency. Understood. I'll call you back for the details. Thank you. The general hanged up the phone and stared at a still frame of the man standing in the middle of the desert. He stood up, poured himself a drink, and drank it all in one shot while quietly muttering, Who the hell are you? Central Park, New York City, New York, March 29, 2005, 0700H local. Nothing like good coffee in the morning. Agent Phil Coulson said as he was walking towards the site of the event. By his side is Agent Clint Barton drinking his own cup of coffee while silently scanning his surroundings, a trait he can't seem to turn off even when he knows the area is safe. Trailing behind them are the field agents and techs they brought with them, each carrying gears they might need. When they reached the cordoned-off area, they saw NYPD cops guarding the area with some civilians milling around. Both Coulson and Barton identified some of those civilians undercover SHIELD agents tasked with guarding the site. The cordoned-off area is approximately 20 m x 20 m. A large area since the exact point of the event can't be determined since no marks were left on the ground. Only the approximate area was determined from video recordings and eyewitness accounts, all of which are from a distant. Coulson approached one of the cops and asked in a friendly tone, Can you point me to who's in charge? The cop looked slightly annoyed for a moment but then saw the guy who asked him, including the large group behind him. Looking at the group's fancy attire and equipment, H concluded that these are the feds they're waiting for. He nodded in acknowledgement and looked around for his boss. When he saw him, the cop looked back at the Fed asking hi and said, You see the guy with the brown jacket? That's Lieutenant Avery. He's the one you want to talk to. The cop said while pointing behind him. Thank you for your cooperation, officer. Coulson said in gratitude. Coulson ducked below the cordon and walked over to where Lieutenant Avery is standing. Barton, on the other hand, walked around the area to try spot something unusual. Agents and techs just stood just outside the area, waiting for orders. Good morning, Lieutenant Avery. How are you? I'm Agent Coulson, and that guy in the jean jacket looking around is Agent Barton. We're the reinforcements you're waiting for, Cowlson said while extending his hands. Avery shook Cowlson's hand and said, "Pleasure to meet you. We're cold but otherwise okay. Good thing you came now. We're just about ready to bug out in 30 minutes, and I don't want to leave this place unguarded, but it's all hands on deck later in the morning." Protesters for that Terry Schiavo case would gather on Times Square later today. No problem. That Terry Schiavo case is rather complicated. So, what can you tell me about what happened here? Cowlson said, reeling in the conversation to the topic at hand. Some of my units canvassed the area and collected witness statements. We also requested copies of CCTV footage from both traffic, police, and building CCTVs around this area from 8:25 to 8:45 p.m. That should give you guys something to work on. The written reports and the discs are at 1 pp. Just have one of your men find Deputy Chief Martel, Avery informed Cowlson. That's great, Lieutenant. You and your boys can go home. We'll take it from here. Much appreciated, Agent Cowlson, Lieutenant Avery said. He then looked over to the cops guarding the area and shouted, "Come on. We're going for a quick chow then going home." Avery and the other cops then left the area. Cowlson watched them go for a moment then walked over to his men. "Mahoney and Johnson, take a car and get those reports. It'll be at 1 pp. Talk to Deputy Chief Martel. Diaz and James, your security. The others, you know your jobs. Go." Cowlson ordered. The agents and techs immediately scrambled to accomplish their orders. As this was happening, Barton walked over to Cowlson's side. "You know, we should expand the perimeter," Barton suggested. "Why? What did you see?" Cowlson asked curiously. "Follow me." Barton then walked to the center of the cordoned-off area with Cowlson following him. When they reached the center, Barton handed over to Cowlson a pair of binoculars he was holding. "Look over there. Can you see that tree over there? The cherry blossom?" Barton asked while pointing to a tree some distance away. "Yeah. What am I looking for?" Cowlson asked while looking through the binoculars. "Look at the trunk, near the base of the tree. Is that kanji script?" "Yup, but it has Hindi and other scripts I can't identify." "That mark, it's exactly north of here and 100 meters far from where we're standing. You can measure it?" "Yeah. I believe you," Cowlson said, trusting Barton's skill. "That's not all. Look behind you, another blossom. That's exactly 100 m south of here. Those writings are present in all 8 directions exactly 100 m from this spot. The weird thing is, I'm fairly certain they were not there before the event." "Why would you say that?" "If I'm right and all those trees are exactly 100 m from here, it's just too perfect of a placement. It's unnatural." "You're right." Cowlson finally agreed. He called over a tech and ordered, "I want you to mark where I'm standing. Using this as a reference, measure the distance and the direction from here to that tree over there. When you have it, come back to me." The technician nodded and executed Cowlson's orders. Barton and Cowlson moved over to the perimeter of the area. "So, what's your take on this?" Barton asked. "Well, I got a lot of idea of what might have happened. None of them are conclusive. If I added those weird symbols, it becomes a little more worrying. Care to share some of it?" "I'm currently thinking of 2 of the possibly worst outcome. 1, something or someone activated a type of a beacon. To what end, I have no idea," Cowlson said in a serious voice, losing his trademark smile. "Or," Barton said, urging Cowlson to continue, "something or someone came over. We have no eyewitness accounts except for a flash of light, and those symbols are clearly marking this area if what you said is true." Barton just remained dumbfounded on Cowlson's hypothesis. Thinking it over, both of those scenarios are undoubtedly possible, especially in their line of work. While Barton was mulling over what Cowlson just said, the tech approached them. "Sir, the tree is exactly north of where you were just standing. It's also exactly 100 meters away from the trunk to the center of the area," the tech reported. Cowlson faced Barton and said, "Looks like you were right." Cowlson faced the tech again and said, "Okay, here's what I want you to do. Take another 4 guys with you. Do the same thing should be present for the trees 100 m away in all 8 compass directions. Record everything you can. I want tree samples, photographs, and aerial mapping with all the coordinates. I want you to focus on the marks on the base of the tree. We'll get right on it, sir." Cowlson watched as the tech walked away, calling some other techs. I hoped that would shed some light on it. Cowlson mused, I just hope you're wrong. Barton answered. MGM Grand Hotel, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 0800H local. Hello. A drowsy Natasha Romanoff answered the phone. Good morning, Ms. Rockfort. This is your requested 8 a.m. wake-up call. The receptionist on the other side reminded in a jolly voice. Oh, thank you. Can you confirm my spa appointment? Certainly, Ms. Rockfort. One moment please. Tapping sound could be heard on the other end of the line. Your appointment was set at 10 a.m. Is that acceptable? Yes, that's perfect. Oh, can you send up an English breakfast and 2 large black coffee? Certainly, Ms. Rockfort. Is there anything else? No. Nothing else. Thank you. Natasha then hanged up the phone. After finishing her morning ritual, she changed into blue jeans, a white t-shirt, white sneakers, and a black leather jacket. She heard a knock on the door while finishing her makeup. She looked into the eye hole who is on the other side. When she saw it's her room service, she opened her door and gestured the hotel attendant to bring the food in. The attendant set the food up and left, receiving a $50 tip. Natasha called Fury while eating her meal. Good morning, boss. Natasha greeted Fury. You left me quite a puzzle, Romanoff. Fury answered in reply. The picture you sent of one, Naruto Uzumaki, didn't come up on any database. He's basically a ghost. Even on the overseas databases. I should amend my statement. He didn't come up on every database. Fury said with a touch of annoyance. I'll try to find him while I'm here. He's probably really good to not have any record of him. Natasha said, not knowing that Naruto didn't come from their world. Tread carefully, Agent Romanoff. I still have a need for you yet. Fury said in a half-joking manner. Ha ha ha. Sure thing, boss. Thanks for the favor. Goodbye, Agent Romanoff. Fury said, then hanged up the phone. Natasha placed her phone in her pocket and finished her meal. She left her room to attend her spa appointment while thinking about how to accomplish her self-imposed mission. Motel 6, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 1300H. Wow, I haven't slept in a bed for so long. Naruto said to nobody in particular while stretching his body out like a cat. That's just part of the course. You don't need sleep, remember. Madatabi reminded. You're a lot like Gaara when he was a kid. Good times, good times. Shukaku said with a sense of nostalgia. You were threatening the kid of taking his body over when he sleeps. How can that be a good time? Komei countered. Well, a good time for me, not for him. Sheesh. Shukaku defended himself. Shut up. It's too early for you broadcasting your infighting in my head. Naruto interjected before the fighting escalates. Kid, it's 1 in the afternoon. Kurama deadpanned. Well, it's no more than 10 minutes. Since I woke up, so it's still early. Naruto said in a deadpan voice. Naruto sometimes thinks that he could relate to people with mental health issues, like say a voice in your head. In his case, 9 distinct personalities that's capable of leaving H body and destroy a whole world. It's a good thing he can turn off the connection to the Bellagio, or he would seriously doubt his sanity by this time. He stood up and went to the bathroom. After washing up, he sat in front of the desk in his room and stared at the mirror, looking directly at his reflection. I have close to 1,000 clones in the city of Los Angeles still gathering basic information, none here in Las Vegas since all of them popped when they found a Class A forger while I was sleeping. Now, what should I do? Naruto thought to himself. When suddenly, he banged his head on the table. The holy grail of answers is in front of him. I'll place some reinforced siphoning clones with hydration tags to all of the major cities in the world. That would make it a lot easier to move around. And if each of those clones can create more clones that can use transformation in my dojutsu, I can make an undetectable instant information network. It's going to be better than what Ero Sennin has. With his mind made up, he walked over to the bed and unsealed a duffel bag in a backpack. Naruto placed 5,110 hydration tags in the duffel bag and 511 reinforcement siphoning tags in the pack. He then created a shadow clone. Find an abandoned warehouse or building somewhere and place a reinforcement tag on you. You then are going to create another 510 clones with a reinforcement tag on them. Each one of you would then pick one major city and place 10 high-ration tags in any safe you deem fit. Don't worry about Los Angeles. When it's all done, you're going to make an information gathering cell on that city and any nearby area. Try to get in as many classes as possible and read all the books in the library. Look into that internet, too, if possible. Create and dispel a clone every day or if something important happens. Got it. Naruto ordered with great enthusiasm, visibly vibrating with excitement on the prospect of his new idea. Yes, boss. No problem, leave it to me. The clone saluted and shoos hind away, leaving an open window. What do you plan with doing with all that knowledge, Kaki? Jiongu asked with apprehension. He knows that knowledge is power and power corrupts. That much information flowing to one person won't be healthy. Well, of course, we're going to sell it. Naruto exclaimed with vigor. What? All the Bellagio shouted in shock. That way of thinking is totally out of character for Naruto. He's the kind of guy that will easily give up a lot to help the good guys. Baa-chan said that people would be really suspicious of what they've taken for free. So we sell the information on the bad guys to the good guys. That way we can help people while still earning some money. Smart, right? Naruto could clearly feel the gaping faces of the Baijos. When the hell did you get that smart? Shukaku shouted. My little boy's all grown up. Kurama said while wiping away a fake tear. Hey. I'm not that bad, am I? Naruto said the last part in a pleading tone. Well, you were pretty bad. Shouting about being Hokage all the time, running head straight to the enemy without thinking. Yup, you were pretty bad. Kurama asserted. Well, fuck you too, guys. Naruto then stood up and sealed all his items except for the decoy bag. He walked out of the room and headed to the front desk. Room 225, checking out. Naruto said to the receptionist. Certainly, sir. That would be $62. The receptionist said after looking over the records. Naruto took out a $100 bill and handed it over. Here, you go. Say, can you recommend a good casino? Maybe poker? Naruto asked, trying to find out where is the best place to go next. The Bellagio is a favorite for amateurs and high rollers. They have different buy-in tables from $1,000 to $1 million on their floor. I heard they also host high-stakes poker with a minimum buy-in of 50 million. The receptionist informed Naruto. Well, here's your change, sir. I hope you stay with us again. Thank you. Naruto walked out of the motel. His first order of business: get himself a new identity or two. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005. 1400 H. Local Naruto is walking towards the house of who could make him a new identity. His clones heard about it from some crime boss talking about bugging out of Las Vegas since the co are hot on his trail. Further, research about the guy showed that he's a US State Department, which apparently does something about international relations, employee, and a hacker, which mean he can create legitimate clean identities, including IDs, and passports. The perfect guy for the job. His services would cost $200,000 per identity. He usually wouldn't do transactions on a weekday since he is a government employee. Still, the clone's memories showed that the guy didn't come into work due to a foot fracture, which is certainly not the fault of his clones accidentally dropping a pot on the guy's feet. Nearing the apartment building, he ducked into an alleyway and created two shadow clones. One of the clones transformed into a guy who looks a lot like Sasuke and the other into his sexy jutsu form. Satisfied with the transformation of his clones, he and his clones walked towards the apartment building. Walking up the third floor, he knocked on room 303. Shuffling could be heard on the other side of the door. The door opened, showing a pasty, skinny, 5 feet 6 inches Caucasian man. Jeremy Michaels was an ordinary 23-year-old guy. He was working a dead-end 8-to-5 job for the government. Day after day, week after week, it was all the same. The operating word was. One day, his uncle Martin approached him with a request. His friend was unwittingly involved in a money laundering scheme. The FBI is already on his tail. What he needed from him is to create a new identity for his friend. His job and his skill with a computer would make it relatively easy for him to create a new identity for his friend. This one request would grow into his new sideline job. He studied the bureaucracy of the government to create better paper trails. He bought equipment to make perfect imitations of IDs and passports. He managed to stay hidden by being smart. Only his uncle could contact him about the orders, and they always use code phrases. This made sure that nobody's the wiser. The fact that 3 people he doesn't know is now standing in front of his door is a little disconcerting. "Are you Jeremy Michaels?" the blonde guy standing in the center asked. "Yes." Jeremy drawled out. "I met this girl in the bar. Her boyfriend left her, so now she's looking for a new phone," the guy said in a straight tone. Jeremy's heart rate immediately shot up. The guy he never met just said his uncle's code for a new job. Is he a cop? Doesn't look like one. Maybe Uncle Martin just let the code phrase slip somewhere. But how can he find out where I live? Either way, I can't bluff out of this. It's better if I let things play out, Jeremy thought to himself. The guy just stared at him while the other 2 are just looking around. Jeremy took a deep breath and said, "Come in. I have some phones I can give away." The blonde guy smiled and just walked inside, followed by the intense-looking black-haired guy and a bubbly, hot, blonde chick. Jeremy looked around outside for a moment and closed the door. He hobbled his way to the living room and saw the 3 people looking around his living room. Jeremy cleared his throat to get the trio's attention. He then pointed at the couch to allow the 3 to sit. Jeremy then walked over to a chair that faced the trio. There were a few seconds of awkward silence until Naruto broke the ice. "Relax, Jeremy. We are not cops or criminals. We're just in need of your services," Naruto said to calm Jeremy down. "People who are in need of my services aren't exactly clean," Jeremy countered with a little shake of his voice. "Well, that's true. But you haven't met 3 abused siblings who faked their deaths and are trying to run away." Naruto lied using a plot in one of the books his clones read. "Oh," Jeremy said, losing most of his tension. "But how did you know about my uncle's code phrases?" "You're smart, Jeremy, but you have nothing on my sister here." Naruto pointed to his female clone. "She can connect dots that don't even exist. And this broody guy right here, he worked out the rest." Naruto then pointed to the Sasuke look-alike. Of course, none of what he said was true. When the clone heard about the crime boss needing any identity, he just followed the trail until it ended on one Martin Michaels. Finding no indication that Martin is the one forging new identities, the clone broke into his safe and read Martin's journal. That's where the code phrases and information was written. It is a foolish move on Martin's part. "That's good, I guess," Jeremy said, thinking about how to work around the problem. If some random siblings can work out his side job and location, others can certainly do it too. "Well, what do you guys need?" he said, moving the issue aside and thinking about it for later. "My siblings and I all need new identities. The faster you can do it, the better. I'll add 25,000 on top of your fee for each identity if you can produce the IDs and passports by tonight. There's another 25,000 for you if you can acquire us some high-limit credit cards by the same time. How about the paper trail? That would take some time," Jeremy asked, thinking about the work needed to make a high-class forgery. "Don't worry about it. You can work on that at your usual pace," Naruto said while waving his hand about. Jeremy thought it over for over a minute. It would be tight, but if he postpones making the paper trail by tomorrow, he can certainly make it. The extra money would be an awesome bonus. "All right, I can have it done by 7. I just need to take your photo and details. You can wait here while I finish it up." The blonde guy just smiled brightly, stood up, took his hand, and shook it vigorously. "You can put my name as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The broody guy is Nathan Umber and my sister is Hannah Fox. That way, we can't all be traced if one of us is found out. You can do anything you want with it as long as no one would be able to link us to each other," Naruto said. Jeremy thought of the ways he can make the 3 identities separate. "Okay, come with me to the back to polish up the details," Jeremy said after he stood up. Jeremy walked to the back room, shaking his head, thinking about the situation he put himself into. An energetic blonde, a broody brunette, and a cheerful chick. What weird GRO siblings. Well, at least it's not some assassin or a spy looking into him. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 1400 H. Local. Natasha is just finishing up her lunch. Her self-imposed mission is still continuously eating at her. She can't concentrate on relaxing while she hasn't yet solved the mystery of Naruto Uzumaki. Something in the back of her mind has been nagging her that Naruto is something special, hiding something big. She knows that Naruto would most probably be still in Vegas, the question is where. If she follows what Naruto said, she will find him in one of the casinos, otherwise, she has no clue. Giving up on trying to relax, she left some cash on the table and walked up to her room. When she got inside, she took both of her Glock 26 Gen 4, a Ruger EC9, a pair of karambits, spare shots for her gauntlets, and a couple of magazines from her case. She also retrieved her specialized ballistic mesh and wore it under her shirt, covering all the bulging parts with her jacket. She put her Glocks in the holster by the small of her back, her Ruger at her right calf, karambits at the left calf, and the spares and magazines at the inside of her jacket. It might be overkill, but to where she's going, she might just need it all to get out. She took her room key and valet ticket and walked out of the room, making sure to lock it behind her. She walked to the lobby and showed her ticket to the valet counter to call her car. When her vehicle arrived, she placed a tip in the jar and immediately got on and drove off. She drove until she reached a medium-sized Italian restaurant on the north side of Las Vegas. She parked in the restaurant's parking lot, got off, and went inside while making sure her car's locked. She strode confidently inside the restaurant and approached the maitre d'. "Good afternoon. I have a reservation under the name Vinnie," Natasha said confidently. The maitre d' slightly narrowed her eyes. She looked to the manager behind her waiting for instructions. Natasha followed the maitre d's line of sight and saw the manager talking to a walkie-talkie. She looked around and saw a CCTV camera pointed at the reception table. After a few exchanges, the manager nodded to indicate to let her in. "Mr. Bianchi is in the back. Straight through the kitchens. Have a good day, Ms. Vedova." Natasha is definitely sure now they remembered her. Vedova is Italian for widow. Natasha walked through the restaurant floor. She can see the tense posture of the waiters and the watchful eye of the manager. Shrugging off the attention, she continued to walk to the kitchen door. As soon as she walked inside the kitchen, everyone stopped. This place is even worse than the restaurant floor. All the cooks are giving her hostile glances while holding different sizes of knives, sharpening it or cutting meat. If she were anyone else, they would have been shaking in her boots, but she is not anyone else. She has seen where monsters are born. This intimidation is nothing on her. She walked past the kitchen and head straight to a meeting room, being guarded by two hefty guys wearing a suit with a BTMP-9 machine pistol. "I'm here to see Vinnie," Natasha said to the guards. Both guards just grunted and opened the door. Natasha walked through the door. She saw 10 guards with similar looks and lowed out to the guard she just saw. By the right side wall of the room is the CCTV monitor screen manned by a skinny guy in glasses. In the center of the room, there is a 3 diameter table. Sitting directly opposite the door, a massive older man leisurely eating a plate of spaghetti with a side of wine. On the opposite side of the man, is another plate of spaghetti and a glass of wine. "Have a meal with Ms. Vedova, or should I say, Ms. Romanoff," the man said. He saw Natasha looking at the food warily. "Don't worry, none of the food is poisoned. It's sacrilegious to waste good food and wine," he reassured. Natasha's face remained neutral as she walked to the table and sat on the chair in front of the food. She then heard the 2 guards outside walked in and closed the door, effectively cutting her off from her only exit. "What can I do for you, Ms. Romanoff? It's not like you would come to me for nothing unless you just want to die, then that can certainly be arranged," Vinnie Bianchi threatened. Vincent Bianchi or Vinnie is a huge 70-year-old man with graying hair, black eyes, and large eye bags under it. He is the current head of the Bianchi crime family. He had expanded the family's operations through smart and efficient management, making the Bianchis gain control of Vegas underground. The bad blood between Natasha and Vinnie came from one of the last jobs she did before being cornered by S.H.I.E.L.D. She was hired to assassinate Vinnie's only son, Luca Bianchi, in the hope that the one who hired her can take control of the family during the confusion. She disguised herself as a high-priced escort to infiltrate Luca's penthouse suite. She drugged Luca with a paralytic drug and staged that he killed himself through hanging. The reason she was identified as the killer was through Vinnie's stubbornness. He didn't believe for a moment that his son killed himself. He used all of his contacts until he came upon the Black Widow. The only reason she can go to Vegas without being continuously shot at or assassinated is due to an agreement brokered for her between S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Bianchis. As long as she doesn't wander into their area, the widow would get to live, at least that's how they phrased it. "I need a favor," Natasha said, channeling her Black Widow persona. And why in the hell should I do this for you and not just put a bullet through your brain? Vinnie exclaimed. Don't be like that, Vinnie. You know it's only a job. It's just business, nothing personal. I'm sure you can understand. Natasha placated. It's personal to me. Vinnie roared in anger. The guards hold onto their guns, getting ready to attack their guest. Natasha remained calm and let the tension slowly die down. When the tension got as low as it gets, she finally said, I know you're going help me this, Vinnie. Vinnie took a deep breath and said, now, why is that? 'Cause you'll finally get to know who hired me. The world stopped for Vinnie. He always knew that the widow is only the hired gun, but with so many suspects, he can't do anything. He can finally bring retribution for his son's death. Tell me. Vinnie said in a clipped tone, fixing Natasha with a hard glare. No, you're going to do my thing first before I tell you anything. Vinnie thought it over for a moment. It doesn't look like it, but the widow holds all the cards the moment she said she would tell about who hired her. They can't force it of her since she'll just bring it to the grave with her. They knew her reputation. Sure of his decision, Vinnie eventually nodded. Great. Besides, you'll forget all about me the moment I say who it is. I'm going to reach into my pocket and bring out a photo. Natasha stated, to not draw alarm. She reached into her right jacket pocket slowly and brought out a photo of Naruto. She placed it face up on the table and slid it over in front of Vinnie. I want information on him, mainly where he is. You have eyes and ears everywhere in this city. You're the fastest way to find him. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, if that helps. Vinnie took the photograph on the table and looked at it for a moment. He stood up and went to the monitors. He motioned for Natasha to follow him. I know this guy. Saw him myself. But he didn't use that name. He used some weird-ass name. Mama, Mana, Menma. That's right, Menma. Vinnie looked at the CCTV apparato and said, load up all the fights of the champion last night. Vinnie turned his gaze to the widow. See, this guy. Vinnie said while waving around the photo. Is every fighting coach's dream. He can take punches, he's quick, he's strong, he's accurate, he has the experience and most importantly, he's got skills. Natasha looked at the monitor playing a compiled video. She saw Naruto took punches that would bring down anyone else like nothing and throwing punches that knocked the out of everyone else. The final clip shows a beautifully executed combination ending in a roundhouse kick. It was all she can do not to gape in shock. She finally has a confirmation of what Naruto can do. That guy took home more than 1.2 mil that night. Vinnie said with a smile when the video ended. You organize fights with $1 million prize money. Natasha asked for confirmation. No, the tournament prize is only $250,000, plus gate commission and bet commission. The most he can get is maybe $350K. Most of the money came from betting for himself. $100K for winning the whole thing and another $100K for winning every fight in under a minute. Thought we just have another cocky guy with too much money. The widow just stared dumbfounded at the screen while hearing Vinnie's answer. I'm going to take a copy of his fights. Do you know where he stayed the night? Vinnie nodded to the operator. Last I heard he stayed at Motel 6. Checked out just 30 minutes ago. Vinnie said, remembering the info. Natasha took the CD handed over by the operator and pocketed it. A deal is a deal, Vinnie. Your brother Giovanni ordered the hit. He hoped you'd give up being head if your son died. Vinnie and his guards took a moment to register what Natasha said. After a few seconds, Vinnie said in denial, why should I believe you? He's family. He won't do it. Natasha started to walk out the door and turned around. I got no reason to lie. I bet it's Giovanni who pointed you to my direction. Well, goodbye, Vinnie. I have somewhere else to be. Natasha continued to the door blocked by the pair of guards. After receiving a nod from their boss, the pair opened the door and let the widow out. Vinnie sat down and stared at the closed door for almost a minute. He finally regained his voice and said to his men, looks like we got to clean house. Natasha drove away from the restaurant towards Motel 6, hoping to find another piece of the puzzle. Shield New York Field Office, New York March 29, 2005, 1000H Local Carlson is now poring over witness reports. Every recorded statement is basically useless. Each account is the same. A bright flash of light occurred in Central Park. The weird thing was, there are no people anywhere close to the area, even though it's pretty close to a path. It's like everyone avoided the area at that exact time. Unbeknownst to Coulson, the seals placed on the anchor seal has an integrated repulsion seal. The Hydration gate works by sending 4 chakra seals to a random world with the given a set of specifications. These seals would be used as a guide by the Hydration gate to send someone through safely. A side effect of the anchor is it would create trees for each seal due to the high level of nature chakra used to power the gate. As a precaution to minimize errors and make anyone on the other side as safe as possible, a modified repulsion barrier would be formed the moment the anchor is set until the user is transported. Coulson was still reading through the files when a tech approached him. "Sir, we have examined those marks on the trees. The symbols we can translate are endurance, love, of, sword. We have no idea of its significance. The important thing we found out, sir, is that the symbols are made up of smaller symbols. We only found out about it when we used a microscope lens on the camera. There are numerous repeating symbols. We can translate the words anchor, bridge, gate, and away." Coulson immediately got a cold feeling wash over him. "But sir, we hit a problem for one of your orders." The tech continued. "What is it?" "We can't take any significant samples from the tree. We have taken some leaves and bark, but we can't take any wood core samples. We just can't cut into it." "What do you mean you can't cut into it?" "Sir, we used chainsaws, diamond-coated blade circular saw, and even a laser. We can't even make a mark on the wood itself, only the bark." The tech reasoned. Coulson thought for a moment. Seeing that there really is nothing to be done, he said, "Make do with what you have. Send a report ASAP." Coulson dropped what he was reading and walked to the balcony. He took out his phone and called someone. The phone rang a couple of times until the person on the other side answered. "Give me something, Coulson." Fury said. "Sir, we might have a situation." Coulson said in a grave tone. "We might have an alien on the loose." Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 1930. Local Naruto is now walking through the doors of the Bellagio. He just came from Jeremy Michaels' place, and now phase 3 of the plan is a go. He just got his ID, passports, and cred cards. Jeremy sure did go above and beyond since he got social security cards, driver's license from 3 different states for each identity, New York, California, and Florida, birth certificates, and finally, permit to carry license for the guns this world loves so much. Jeremy also delivered on those credit cards. He repurposed some black market credit card accounts with a $100,000 limit to make them legit. All of which are billed to a PO box. Now he can have a paper trail, which is apparently a fundamental concept in this world. He learned that someone without a paper trail is really suspicious. The hidden villages would love to adapt this so they can keep track of everyone. The only downside to being a good guy doing bad stuff is that he had paid Jeremy $750K for everything. If he really is an asshole, he would just do what Kurama is saying. If you just used a genjutsu on him, you can vet away without him even remembering. Kurama said, "Well, I don't want to be an asshole, alright." Naruto defended himself. "You bought illegally made papers and identification." Son Goku said in a deadpan voice. "That's just a necessity because of my situation, and you know it." Naruto countered. Currently, he only had $483,374 left, which is a lot more than what he started with, but he needs some serious capital to get the next part of his plan started. That's the reason he was walking through the doors of the Bellagio. The receptionist of the motel he stayed at said this was the best place to play poker. Ever since he met Tsunade Baa-chan, he found out his talent for gambling. It doesn't matter what game it is, as long as it is based on chance. Even if it's rigged, he would somehow still win. As Kurama so eloquently described it one time as, "You have a stupid amount of luck for things that barely matter. It's like you made Lady Luck your bitch, and she just can't say no to you." Now fate, that's where he is a little angry with. It's like it piled on all the enormous problems of the world on his shoulder. But he's not going to open that can of worms anytime soon. Right now he has some games to win. Naruto went ahead and looked around. This place sure had a typical high-class casino down. Bright lights, expensive paintings, suit-up dealers, and security. Security everywhere, at least you can see their effort trying to blend in. He looked around and saw a sharply dressed attendant approaching him. "Good evening to the Bellagio Hotel and Casino. The best place to relax and enjoy. How can I help you, sir? The attendant said, with a friendly smile. Naruto just smiled back and said the following in a conversational tone, "It's my first time in Vegas, and I had heard great things about this place, especially about the poker tables. Can you point me to where those are?" Thinking that Naruto is a customer easy to make money out of, the attendant immediately led him to across the casino floor. "You are right on that, sir. We are known for exquisite poker rooms, equipment, and atmosphere. We have over 50 poker tables in the central area alone. We have several private rooms that can be rented for more private games." Both of them finally reached the poker room. The attendant opened the door for Naruto. "Welcome to the Bellagio Grand Poker Room. We have increasing buy-in from left to right. You can join or leave a table after every round." The attendant pulled out a card and handed it over to Naruto. "If you have any problems, just call the number on this card and find Ricardo Falcone. He can help you out. Good luck, sir." The attendant walked away and called someone on his phone. "Mr. Falcone. It's Morris Grant. I just got a new possible mark. I'm from the Bellagio." Ricardo Falcone is an intimidating 45-year-old man. He is a loan shark working for the Bianchi crime family. He uses inside men in casinos to look for unsuspecting and gullible tourists to loan money to when they lose in the casino. He then cons or intimidates the target to pay back the money with significant interest. He pays the inside man a percentage of each successful loan. Morris is one of the more successful inside men due to the addictive and unpredictable nature of poker. He just has no idea that Naruto will be the worst mark he would ever have. Naruto walked around the tables, looking for an empty chair. He finally spots a man leaving his chair, and Naruto immediately ran to it and sat down. The dealer just stared at the possible new player for a moment. He's terribly underdressed. He looks like he lacks the decorum for this side of the room, judging from the way H ran to sit at the recently vacated spot. Nevertheless, the dealer is nothing if not professional. "Sir, I would like to inform you that this table has $250,000 buy-in." The dealer said. "Oh, perfect. I got the perfect table to start." Naruto swung his backpack forward, put his hand in, unsealed $250K in cash, placed it on the table, and turned the back again on his back. All of it was done with a broad, goofy smile. This should be enough. Naruto's action garnered a lot of attention from the table. Some were amused, others were offended, but the dealer remained professional. He just took the money and replaced it with chips. 50 pieces of $1,000 chips and 20 pieces of the $10,000 chips. Naruto looked around the table discreetly while arranging his chips. There are 7 other players on the table, 5 males, 2 females. All of them are wearing fancy clothes. Stupid. How could I forget that? The clothes. Why didn't I buy any clothes? I'm standing out like a sore thumb. Wait, I don't need to buy clothes. I have a transformation jutsu. It's a simple enough hand sign. Ugh. Wait, I need to focus. Naruto shook his head and got back to observing his opponents. The table is set up as a half circle with all the players sitting on the curved side while the dealer is on the flat side. Naruto is sitting on the right-hand side of the table. Okay, let's work our way around the table, starting WI the dude opposite me. Quite young, possibly rich parents. Based on his chips and the amount of nervous sweat he is forming, his parents know nothing about this. The next is a middle-aged guy. He's been cleaning house, almost $1 million in chips. Have to be wary of him. The following 2 are chicks. Friends. They also have quite a haul. Either they are good players or good at distracting others. I got to have a closer look at them. Naruto thought of the last part while blood is running down his nose. Immediately wiping the blood, he looked around the table around more. That guy must be in a losing streak. He only has enough for another 2 rounds. Okay, next one is an old dude with a hot chick sitting on his lap. Must be incredibly rich to have that hot of a gold digger. Finally, the guy next to me also has a good haul. Naruto finally ended his train of thought. Seeing Naruto is already settled in, the dealer started the game. Naruto was confused when everyone only received 2 cards. Excuse me. Are there 3 more cards? Naruto asked as in a low voice. Before the dealer could answer, the old guy with the gold digger laughed hard. What have you been playing? Squirt is 5-card draw. Those are for kids and pussies. What we have here is a man's game. Texas Hold'em. the older man said with a loud laugh. Naruto immediately felt a feeling of dread washed over him. He has no idea how to play this. You can fold out of the game after the blinds. The 5-card poker tables are at the other side of the room if you're interested. The dealer helpfully suggested. Naruto thought about it for a moment until he made a decision. Naruto stood up and shouted, "I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I don't back down against any challenge." Believe it. The people in the room just stared dumbfounded at the young man shouting. The security around the room don't know what to do and just stood there frozen. They finally relaxed when the guy sat down. Naruto phased out the world around him and took his guards. He had a 10 and a king. Both of them spades. He had been assigned the small blind, which apparently means you have to put $500 on the table while the guy before him had to give $1,000 cause he's the big blind or something. The middle-aged man raised the bet to $5,000. Everyone else called. The dealer finally showed the first 3 cards, twin aces, clover and a spade, and a queen spade. Naruto just checked since he had no idea what's happening, but the older guy had other plans. He raised the bet to $25,000. Naruto had no choice but to see the bet along with the other players. The next card is placed on the table, a queen of hearts. This promoted another round of betting. The rich kid and the unlucky guy both folded. The old dude and the middle-aged guy are continuously raising the bet until Naruto had enough. He placed all his chips on the pot and said all in. The 2 girls looked at each other and folded. The guy next to him folded too. Only the old dude and the middle-aged guy met his bet. With no other possible moves for the players, the dealer finally showed the river. It's a jack of spades. Confident with his card, the old guy flipped it over, revealing a 9 of hearts and a queen of clover. Full house, queen over aces. The dealer announced. The old guy immediately turned his cards over before the middle-aged dude can collect the pot. It revealed as an ace of diamonds and 4 of clover. The middle-aged guy immediately slumped. Full house, aces over queens. Naruto's smile was slowly expanding as he watched how Texas Hold'em poker works. Lady Luck still has it bad for him. The old guy was already collecting the pot, completely forgetting about Naruto when the dealer spoke. "Sir, we still have another player." "Him? Really?" The kid didn't even know what he's playing. The old guy said. All he got in return was a blank stare. All right. Just hurry up." The dealer turned his head to Naruto and said, "Your cards, please." Naruto smiled and placed his card on the table. He looked at his opponent and turned over his card. The old guy looked like he just had a heart attack when he saw the cards. Ace high straight flush. Royal flush of spades. Naruto laughed hard and collected the pot. Several rounds of poker happened similarly. Naruto would win the pot as a whole or with someone else. One by one, his opponents checked out of the game, seeing they had no chance of winning with him on the table. The management of the Bellagio is already monitoring his games, watching for any signs of cheating. Unfortunately for his opponents, the administration had not seen any signs of fraud. Even replacing the dealer or the card dispenser machine yielded no results. They have no reason to remove Naruto from the game since the house would profit better with a significant encashment transaction compared to multiple small ones. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 22:30 Local. Naruto has been jumping from a table with lower buy-in to a table with a higher buy-in as he wins more money. Naruto was currently collecting his winnings from the last round in the $10 million buy-in table when a largish man in a suit approached him. "Are you the guy who's ripping off all the tables?" "Hey. I'm not ripping anyone off. I'm just lucky," Naruto defended, ending the statement with a pout. The man just shook his head tiredly and continued the conversation. "Anyway, my boss is hosting a private poker game upstairs. He asked me to pick up, and I quote, the kid who's been ripping everyone off the floor below. That's why I'm here inviting you. You can just stay here, but it looks like everyone just wanted to get rid of you." Naruto looked around the table and saw the pleading looks on his opponent's eyes that he says yes. Naruto looked back at the man and asked, "How much is the buy-in?" $100 mil, but don't worry. My boss says he's ready to prop you up. He just wants to see something interesting. Your boss is ready to lose at least $100 million. Naruto asked, dumbfounded. He's stupidly rich and bored. Happy said with a shrug. "So, what do you say? I don't need for your boss to prop me up. I may have just enough from this table and in my backpack. Naruto collected his chips and placed them all in his backpack. He stood up and faced his opponents and said, "Nice game, everyone. I hope we see each other again." Muttered grumblings are all the answer he got in return. Naruto followed the man outside of the poker room towards the elevator. When they finally are alone in the elevator, Naruto finally said, "Excuse me, but can I ask your name? Sorry that I hadn't asked your name when we first met. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, by the way." "Oh, by the way, who's your boss if you don't mind me asking?" The elevator door opened on the penthouse suite. "It's alright, kid. I don't want to broadcast downstairs who's my boss. It might get wild. He just wants a quiet night today before he turns in it up tomorrow." The man extended his hand toward Naruto. "It's nice to meet you, Naruto. I'm Harold Hogan, but everyone just calls me Happy." Naruto immediately shook Happy's hand with a grin. "For my boss, well, you might know him." Happy hesitated. "Don't leave me hanging here." "Who is it?" Naruto urged Happy to continue. "My boss's name is Tony Stark," Happy said, waiting for the kid's reaction. "Who?" Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 1500 H. Natasha just pulled into Motel 6 parking. She still can't believe she got out of Bianchi's place without a fight, but she won't look a gift horse in the mouth. She got out of her car and went to the front desk. She pulled out a fake FBI badge, showed it to the person at the front desk. "Good afternoon. I'm Special Agent Naomi Ryan. I'm here to ask some questions." Natasha took out a photo of Naruto and showed it. "Have you seen this guy?" she said in an authoritative tone. "OMG. Is he a criminal? Please say he's not. What if he's a serial killer, and I'm his next target?" The receptionist said, clearly losing her cool. Ma'am," Natasha said, trying to calm the receptionist down. "He's not a criminal. He's a missing person, and his family has been looking for him for over a month. One of my contacts said he spotted him leave this motel. Is this true?" The receptionist took a deep breath to calm down. After a few deep breaths and said, "Yes, he just checked out around 2 hours ago." "Did he say where he was going?" "Not really. But he did ask where he could play some poker. I told him he could go to the Bellagio so he could go there. Thank you for your cooperation. Have a great day." Natasha pocketed her FBI badge and the photo and left. Natasha went back to her hotel to change into something more appropriate. She checked her car to the valet and went up to her room. As soon as she locked the door, she swayed the room again for bugs. Better be safe than sorry, and in her profession, being sorry might mean you die. When she got the all clear, she took out her laptop and video called Fury. "Good afternoon, boss. I got a lead on the guy," Natasha said with enthusiasm. "Forget about him, Romanov. I'm cutting your vacation short. I need you on the next flight to New York 2 hours ago," Fury ordered. "Why? Did something happen?" "You could say that. Carlson just classified the 083 event as a possible 051. First contact? We have evidence. Nothing concrete as of yet. Only some markings on a tree are indicating that it's a bridge to bring someone in." "The tree is a bridge," Natasha said, her confusion seeping through while she started packing up her stuff. "Trees. Plural. Carlson would explain it better. That's why I want you and Barton to lead the search teams to confirm if there's a motherfucking alien in my goddamn planet," Fu exclaimed. Natasha hesitated for a moment, seeing her boss so agitated, but she steeled herself and said, "Boss, I'll take a transport from Nevada field office to New York at midnight so that I can be in New York by morning." "Why the hold up? Is this still about the hitchhiker? Didn't just I tell you to forget about him?" "Boss, I have a reason to believe he's a possible enhance, and he's already trained. I already sent you a copy of the underground fights he won last night." Natasha could see Fury rubbing his head while opening the email she sent him. She could see a slight widening of Fury's eye while watching the video, which in Fury's case may as well be dropping his jaw. A few more moments passed before Fury spoke up. "All right. You can do what you want, but I want you in New York first thing tomorrow morning. Try to see if he's amenable to joining us. In the meantime, I'll have a team analyze the footage to have an idea on the guy's capabilities." "Thanks, boss." Natasha closed her laptop to finish packing her stuff at the same time, picking out a practical yet appropriate outfit to where she's going. She removed her weapons and stripped down to her lace underwear to take a bath. When Natasha got out 30 minutes later wearing only a towel, she checked her phone. "Well, that was fast," Natasha said, referring to the preliminary analysis of the video. The analysis of Naruto's capabilities is based on approximated data available in the video. The speed is computed using the approximated distance traveled in frames per second. The computation for strength uses the opponent's approximated metrics in calculating the force needed for a person to fly that far. The amount of damage Naruto can take, on the other hand, is a little harder to approximate since no reaction could be seen on Naruto. The result of the analysis is simply staggering. Natasha immediately dialed Fury's number. The call quickly went through. "I take it you saw the report," Fury said in a serious voice. "Is this right? I already thought his specs are extraordinary, but not this. Looks like you're right again, Romanoff. But that's not all. I'll send you another file. It's an old report of an analysis of a video. Compare the numbers." Natasha immediately went to her email and read the report. Her jaw dropped when she finally saw the name on the bottom. "Boss, he's better than the captain?" Natasha asked hesitantly. "In terms of strength and speed, definitely yes. The guy didn't even take the fights seriously. He might be a lot faster and stronger. In fact, I'll bet on it. It's like he's picking on kids," Fury said with a smile. "The other things Cap had, though, we have no idea. Only the lab can test for that. He certainly looks like he has experience fighting." There was a lull in the conversation until Natasha asked the thought that's running to both of their minds. "Is this as bad as I think it is? The fact that someone may have managed to recreate a super soldier serum without even chatter about it, it's really worrying. The fact that he might have worked as a contract killer is another negative. We might have another Winter Soldier scenario in our hands." Fury finished his thought. "Keep me updated, Romanoff. We have too many unknowns about this guy. The fact that New York is still not resolved and we just had the green signal to study the cube, we have too many things happening on our plate." Natasha shuddered, just remembering the machine of a man who killed her client. "Right, boss. I'll find him. Happy hunting, Romanoff. I still want you in New York in the morning," Fury said before hanging up the phone. Natasha tossed her phone on the bed and changed into her chosen attire. She double-checked the room for possible things she might leave and went down to the front desk to check out. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 22:30 local. Natasha had just spent 3 hours, from 4 to 7, looking around the Bellagio for Naruto to no avail. Seeing no sign that Naruto would show up, she went around all the major casinos in the city looking for any sign of him. She paid especially close attention to the poker tables since that was the only lead she got from the receptionist. Running out of time since she needed to be on the tarmac of the Shield Nevada field office by 12 to reach New York on time, she went back to the Bellagio for a last look. As soon as she entered the premises, she heard some conversation between employees. "Damn, what I wouldn't do to be the kid right now. Tell me about it. I heard he already won around 90 mil. He's already on the 10 million buy-in table. I heard he never played Texas poker before, only 5-card draw. At least that's what Jonathan said." "Who's Jonathan again?" "He's the dealer of the kid's first table. He said what the kid's name is. Apparently, he shouted it in the poker room. I think it's Naruto Uzumaki." Natasha perked up and immediately ran to the poker room to find Naruto. When she got inside, she directly went to the high roller area. She saw a crowd forming one of the tables. Following her instinct, Natasha tried to see what's happening. When she was nearing the table, she saw through the crowd. The moment she saw the distinctive golden blonde hair, she knew she found Naruto. Unfortunately for her, fate had other plans. Natasha was just going to call Naruto when a man in a suit approached him. Immediately in guard, she readied herself for action. Hearing the man's offer to Naruto to join his boss for a private game of poker only made her more cautious, that is, until she finally had a good look at the man. He is Happy Hogan, the personal head of security of Tony Stark himself. According to his files, he has mediocre physical combat skills, situational awareness, and high-stress decision-making, but more than makes up for it for his intelligence, intuitive leaps, and dedication to the job. He would rather die protecting Tony Stark than let him seriously get hurt. But the problem is not Happy Hogan himself but with what his presence entails. If you can find Happy, you can find Stark somewhere close, and vice versa. The fact that Happy is already inviting Naruto to a game with his boss means that Stark is already in the building, and that means approaching Naruto is already a no-go. One of the founding members of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father. He funded a large portion of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s budget and created a lot of advanced technology during his time. When he died, his friend and another founding member, Peggy Carter, created an unspoken rule that S.H.I.E.L.D. would stay away out of Tony Stark's life as much as possible, but would simply protect him from the shadows. Seeing Naruto walking away with Happy Hogan, she had no other choice and dialed Fury's number. "Romanoff, are you on your way to New York?" Fury asked as soon as he answered. "Not yet, boss. Still got time. I hit a snag on the other problem though." Natasha informed with a little apprehension. "What problem?" "Don't tell me you didn't find him." "Don't worry, boss. I found him, I just can't approach him now." "What do you mean you can't approach him?" "He's not radioactive. He doesn't have a force field. And he's certainly not flying. So give me one good reason you can't approach him," Fury said, slowly losing his temper. "Well, he's been invited in a private poker game." Natasha paused to let what she said to sink into her boss. "By Tony Stark." "Shit," Fury said in a word that perfectly sums up their situation. "I don't know if the kid's lucky or unlucky." Fury took a deep breath and continued. "We can't do anything about it now. Just go to New York. I'll assign a team to monitor the guy for now." "Got it, boss." Fury hanged up the phone after that. Natasha left the building and claimed her car from the valet. She got in, and drove straight to the Nevada field office, all the while thinking how hard it is to find a guy and ask a question. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 29, 2005, 23:15 H. Local Who. Happy stopped and looked at Naruto incredulously. Naruto kept walking for a couple of steps until he realized his companion stopped. He looked back and saw Happy's expression. "What?" Naruto asked. "You don't know who Tony Stark is?" Happy asked to be sure. "No, not really. Should I?" Happy smiled brightly, hearing the answer. He finally could pull a prank and could take Tony's ego down a peg or two. Pepper would definitely love this. "No, not really. Just remember that when you get in." Naruto nodded his head slowly, not really knowing what he meant. "What can I expect in there? You have 2 CEO and 2 sports superstar in there. You might know the last 2. Just don't let them intimidate you, and you'll be fine," Happy advised. "Here we are. Just follow my lead, kid." "I'm not a kid," Naruto countered with a pout. Happy just swiped his card on the electronic lock and went in with Naruto following close behind. Naruto was awestruck at how fancy the room is. It's a whole lot more intricate than a lot of daimyo's palace he has seen. Although it's a little much for his taste, he can't deny the allure of living in a place like this. He's so distracted looking around he didn't see Happy walk his way down the hall. Happy continued his way to the living room without seeing if Naruto was behind him and saw Tony and the other players still taking a break from their latest game. The 2 athletes are sitting on the couch while Tony and his friend are talking on the balcony. "So how's the rebuild going? You guys got wrecked this season." Floyd Mayweather asked his fellow athlete Kobe Bryant. "Not great, really. The front office is making some moves, but I doubt it will amount to something anytime soon," Kobe replied. Kobe looked towards the balcony. "Do you think the 2 over there would stop talking all about that techno shit?" Kobe asked, referring to Stark and Musk talking something about a new battery configuration for Musk's Tesla. "I don't know. I guess we have to wait for the kid to get up here. Sometimes Tony's too spontaneous. Who would want to play a poker shark?" Happy decided to interject at that moment and shouted, "Guys, I found the kid." Tony looked inside when he heard Happy's voice. He walked up to him and looked behind him. "So, where's the kid? Don't tell me you lost him already," Tony asked, sarcastically, seeing there's no one else there. Happy looked around, searching for Naruto. Seeing this, Tony asked again. "Happy, don't tell me you really lost the kid," Tony said, losing his sarcasm. His nervousness is seeping through. "He was just right behind me," Happy said while looking behind him. "I'll check back at the receiving room." Happy walked back to the front door and saw Naruto still looking around the reception area. I thought I told you to follow behind me. Happy said to Naruto while giving him a hard stare. Well, sorry. I just had to look around. Naruto defended himself. Happy just sighed and said, come on. I'll introduce you. Just stay close to me, okay? Happy and Naruto walked back to the living room and saw the guys preparing for another round of poker. Everyone looked to see who Happy brought and looked a little surprised. They saw the kid is not exactly what they thought. He's tall, around 6 feet 2 inches. He looked like he could pass as an NBA guard. Got a muscular build too. Certainly looked like an athlete. He got blonde hair and blue eyes, but his face doesn't exactly look Caucasian. Maybe Asian American. Seeing the lack of awe and adoration that usually would show on a young man's face when he meets all of them, Tony finally asked, so, who are you, kid? Naruto looked at Tony. After a few tense moments, with Tony waiting for that spark recognition, Naruto finally said, shouldn't you be introducing yourself first? And I'm not a kid. Everyone in the room laughed hard. Sure, Kobe's and Floyd's egos are legendary, but it had nothing on Tony Stark. He lives to see his name everywhere. Someone not knowing about him is sacrilegious. Tony just gaped at the new guest. He never thought he would meet someone who didn't know him in the USA, especially in his lifetime. I'm Tony Stark. Billionaire, playboy, genius, philanthropist. CEO of Stark Industries. That Tony Stark. Tony introduced himself, hoping to himself that the kid would recognize him. Cool. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The greatest fighter around. Naruto introduced himself. Still not recognizing the younger Stark. Tony groaned, giving up on the prospect of the kid recognizing him. He walked back to the poker table, sat down, and sulked. The rest of the poker players introduced themselves. Hey. Sorry about that. He's a little vain. But don't worry, he's a good guy. The guy in a polo short defended Tony Stark. I'm Elon Musk. An engineer like Tony there. A tall, bald, African-American man introduced himself next. I'm Kobe Bryant. Basketball player. Played any basketball before? No, I can't say I have. Never even heard of it. Naruto answered in a straight face. You never heard of it? Oh, hell no. I'm going to have to teach you about it sometime. Kobe finally said. Forget about him. You do look like a fighter. You should do some boxing. I'm Floyd Mayweather, by the way. The shorter African-American guy introduced himself. Oh. Boxing? I read about that one, but I never saw one use it before. What's it like? Naruto asked enthusiastically, finally learning something about his interest. Well, it's about using quick and strong punches to bring down the opponent while using fast and precise footwork to dodge your opponent. Floyd explained. What about kicks, elbows, and knee strikes? Well, we don't use it. Hey. I fought someone who used that. He didn't last long. You have more experience than I thought. What's the guy's name? Maybe I heard of him. Floyd asked conversationally. Just some huge guy named Mike Lucas. Naruto said while waving his hand dismissively. Floyd immediately widened his eyes. Mike Lucas used to be a professional boxer who started the same time as him. He's on his way to superstar stardom until he was caught using performance-enhancing drugs. He was banned from professional boxing ever since. Holy shit. You must be good. Where did you fight him? Everyone in the room is tuned into the conversation. They all heard of Mike the Flash Lucas. Hearing some guy fought him and won, even if not on his prime, is extraordinary. Well, there was this underground fighting tournament somewhere north of the city. Won me some serious cash. Naruto said proudly. You fought in an underground fight? Kobe asked for confirmation. Yup, lost my luggage and most my money when I got here. So I joined to win some cash. The whole thing is a little boring, though. Silence dominated the room hearing their guest's story. Tony, being the impatient one, finally broke the ice. Are we going to play or not? This snapped the people in the room, and they filed toward the poker table. The table in the room is similar to the one in the poker room, only more expensive. They sat down with Elon on the left side of the table, followed by Tony, Floyd, Kobe, then finally Naruto. Tony saw Naruto swinging backpack forward. This reminded him of what he said to Happy. You need someone to prop you up? This table has $100 million buy-in. Naruto flopped his backpack on the table and looked at Tony. No need. I got this. Naruto said with a grin and tipped over his bag. Almost 100 pieces of chips in different denominations spilled onto the table. That should cover it. For another time during the night, they were dumbstruck. The amount he spilled on the table is closer to 200 than to 100 million. How much did you start with? Floyd asked. $250,000. Worked my way up to the $1 million tables. Holy shit, we're fucked. Elon said, perfectly encapsulating their current position. Naruto only gave them a bigger grin and said, well, let's play some poker. Kamartaj, Kathmandu, Nepal. March 30, 2005, 1200 H. Local. The Hidden Temple of Kamartaj is a school created by the world's first sorcerer, Agamotto. Agamotto was a powerful man who used the mysteries of the mystic arts to defend the world against enemies the world is not prepared to face. One of the most powerful enemies he ever faced is Dormammu, an interdimensional demon hell-bent on acquiring planets for his personal dimension, the Dark Dimension. There was no chance for Agamotto to win against the demon if not for a powerful item he forged using one of the most powerful objects in the universe. He named it the Eye of Agamotto. It's capable of bending time to the will of the user. He used it to push back Dormammu to the Dark Dimension. To prevent Dormammu of ever conquering the planet, he created the three sanctums as mystical shields against extra-dimensional beings to protect the world against mystical attacks from other dimensions, and alongside it, the Temple of Kamartaj, tasked with training sorcerers. These sorcerers are soldiers trained in harnessing the mystical energies from other dimensions and use it to protect the world. Agamotto named himself as the Sorcerer Supreme and helped create a new generation of sorcerers. Before he died, he named another the title of Sorcerer Supreme to one of H's students and passed down with it the Eye of Agamotto. This has continued for thousands of years until an unprecedented event happened. A Sorcerer Supreme saw a different future. The next adequate Sorcerer Supreme after her is not to be born for almost 1,000 years in the future. Seeing no alternate solution, she harnessed the dark energy from the Dark Dimension to extend her lifespan. She had lived for so long that everyone called her the Ancient One. She had guided dozens of generations of new sorcerers, preparing them for what's to come. The Ancient One knew her time is coming, and she had already accepted it. Nevertheless, she religiously looks into the future using the Eye of Agamotto. She was prepared to see the same future, confirming what she already knew. What she didn't expect is the sudden change in the visions of the future mid-session. She can't clearly see who or what caused the change, only its effects. The only glimpse she found is a yellow fox. It's like an invincible mountain was dropped on top of the river of time, effectively changing critical events in the future. One of those events, her death. She can finally see the events of what is to come after her death, and for the first time in a very long time, she felt fear. She saw the end of over half of the life in the universe. The Ancient One snapped out of her meditation and took a deep breath. She took her time to choose her next path. Either she does nothing and let destiny take its course, or else does something now and change what is to come for better or for worse. Finally deciding on her choice, she walked calmly out of her room and faced her attendant for the day and said, "Call everyone available to the central grounds in an hour. I'll inform everyone of some of the changes that would happen. And bring me Silas, Mordo, and Pangborn." The attendant looked stunned for a moment. The Ancient One never called such a large meeting. Only meetings with individuals or at most small groups. He stood there for some time until snapping out of it when he saw the Ancient One walking back to her room. The attendant ran through the corridor, remembering the Ancient One's orders. Back in her room, the Ancient One was contemplating the decision she had made. Seeing that she would not be able to reverse destiny's path to what it was before, she comforted herself with her decision. Change has come. The Ancient One could be heard saying this in her empty room. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada. March 30, 2005, 1000 H. Local. Tony was sleeping peacefully until he was woken up by the most beautiful voice he ever heard. "Wake the hell up, Tony. I swear to God." Shaking up the cobwebs in his head, Tony opened his eyes and saw something he never expected to be his angel. "Don't make me throw this bucket of water at you." Ugh. Tony tried to get up, but his pounding headache begged to differ. "Okay, you asked for it." Tony felt water splash his face, and he immediately shot up. What the hell? Tony looked around to see what's happening and where is he. He looked like he was in his hotel room. The weirdest thing was the only other person in the room is his personal assistant, Virginia Pepper Potts. Pepper used to work for another scientist entrepreneur until she finally had enough of the flirting of her boss and left. Stark Industries later hired her as an accountant for their finance department. Her diligence and detailed work in the department caused her to find some discrepancies in an account. After her immediate superior ignored her findings, she marched her way towards the office of Tony Stark to report what she saw. Pepper caused a scene at Tony's office when she wasn't allowed to meet him. In a natural reaction of Tony Stark's personal bodyguards, they pepper sprayed her. When Tony Stark got out of his office and saw the aftermath of the commotion, he laughed hard. This event would leave such a great impression on the CEO that he pulled her out of the finance department and made her his personal assistant, and more importantly, Tony gave her the nickname Pepper. Pepper continued to grow and develop being under Tony Stark's personal employ. This is not because Tony taught or guided her, no, this was because Tony basically put her through a trial by fire. Whether you love him or hate him, Tony Stark is an undeniable genius who appears once in a century. This genius caused Stark Industries to grow from a technological research company to a multinational conglomerate focusing on weapon manufacture. Tony's corporate ability enabled him to make the company flourish, but he was never enthusiastic about running a company. He only wanted to tinker and invent new stuff. This trait caused Tony Stark to place Pepper Potts in a position that would allow her to do basically everything Tony was supposed to do. Pepper's sudden predicament forced her to learn the ins and outs of the company. She expanded her studies while working for Stark until she got multiple masters and doctorates from Harvard and Yale, all related to business administration and management. Currently, she had more than enough credentials and skills to run any Fortune 500 company. Everyone else in the industry tried to hire or poached her away, but some part of her was always telling her not to leave her boss. Through the years, she and Tony have developed a good working relationship and an even better personal relationship. Pepper had somehow applied order to Tony's chaotic lifestyle. The only part of the job she now minds is she had to take care of Tony's one-night stand. But, that's not why Pepper is so angry this morning. Why did I have to find out on the news that you and another guy took down an Italian mob while drunk? Pepper shouted. What? Ow, not too loud. A hangovered Tony asked. I don't know. All I know is what the news is telling. The Las Vegas Metro PD and the FBI are trying to get hold of you, trying to make sense of a situation. Your lawyers are trying to contact you too. What the hell happened, Tony? This is one of the worst things you've ever done. Tony was seriously worried about what happened. He tried to recall what happened last night. He tried to remember what happened last night. Tony remembered that he, Elon, Kobe, Floyd, and his invite, Naruto, was playing poker with Happy as the dealer. Naruto was destroying them until one by one they folded out except for himself. Flashback start. I'm tapping out while I still can. You're seriously like the pool shark of poker. Elon said while collecting his chips. I'm going back to my room. You should fold out to while you still can. Elon finished, referring to the small stack of chips on Tony's table. He barely got $3 million left while all the others pulled out when they reach around $50 million left. They saw that it was pointless, and they would only lose money to Naruto. Tony's only answer is a nod with a grunt. He is already a little bit wasted, indicated by the half-finished bottle of bourbon by his side. Happy is at the dealer's side of the table, absolutely enjoying the poker beatdown the kid was giving his boss. Elon said goodbye to both Naruto and Happy. He took one last drink and left. Tony looked back to see Elon go out of the room, thinking about folding out of the game right now. Only Stark's ego and overwhelming alcohol are pushing him to keep playing. He looked back at Naruto and asked, "Next round?" Naruto looked at Tony a little bit weirdly. He knew that Tony took the most hit during the game because of his aggressive game style. The chips he had left could only cover the small blind, but he has to cover the big blind for the upcoming round. Are you sure? Naruto finally asked. "'Cause I'm okay with covering the big blind again. You'll just have to go all in as your opening bet." Tony rechecked his chips and saw that Naruto was right. He thinks over a solution for a moment until he finally spoke. "I'll give you an open favor for one last game. All or nothing. What good is your favor? I got almost $350 million here with me. Why the hell should I say yes?" Naruto said, baiting the CEO for more. Tony acted offended at Naruto's statement. "I'm Tony Stark. One of the richest and smartest men alive. I could literally put you on the moon, and here I am, basically giving you a blank check. Tony said exaggeratedly. As long as Pepper is not entirely opposed to it. Tony finished with a little fear in his eyes. Pepper would skin him alive if he gave another person one of those open favors without running it by Pepper first. Happy laughed hard when he heard the last statement. Who's Pepper? Naruto asked the laughing bodyguard. She's Tony's personal assistant and nanny. Happy said the last part as a joke. Naruto giggled a little bit at that, understanding the jab on Tony's personality. Naruto looked at Tony and said, make that 5, and you have a deal. 3. Tony countered while extending his hand. Naruto was going to shake Tony's hand, but before he reached it he said, 3 in a room in your LA residence, and you're going to teach me engineering and computer stuff. Happy gave Naruto a weird look, but Naruto only shrugged. I just moved to the US, lost most of my stuff, and I have nowhere to go. This would solve that problem and learn something new. Naruto defended himself. Don't worry, though, I'll be traveling for a while. Naruto then looked at Happy and said, you can even check my background if you like. Tony agonized it for over a second. He likes his solitary lifestyle, and adding this unknown guess might shatter that. On the other hand, the kid would like to learn something from him, and his ego like that. That was the tipping point. Deal. The two of them shook hands. The result was as expected, Naruto won without much difficulty. This caused Naruto's finance to grow to $410,489,374. He also got a temporary home base and 3 blank checks on one of the most influential men alive. Ugh, you really have the luck of the devil. Tony said while pouring himself another drink, looking at Naruto, packing the chips in his bag, almost making it burst at the seams. Leave it there. I'll just have the manager and cash it tomorrow. I'll even cover the fee. I own this place anyway. Really? Naruto asked. Seeing Tony nod, he just left it on the table. He then stood up, fixed up his jacket, and looked at Tony. Well, I'm leaving. When and where are we going to meet tomorrow? Naruto asked. Whoa. Hold up there, sunshine. You just made me lose a whole lot of cash, a room, and a lot of my time in the future. At the very least, you're going to have a DRI with me. Tony said, stopping Naruto in his tracks, but I don't drink, and I have to find a place to stay. Naruto countered. Nope. We're going to have a drink and talk like men. Tony said, urging Naruto to accept. When he saw Naruto sat down again, resigning to his fate, Tony looked at Happy and said, take the night off, Happy. You look like shit. Happy thought for a second before nodding and going to one of the spare rooms. What's your poison? Tony asked. I don't know. I only ever tried sake with my grandma. Naruto said. Damn, your grandma's hardcore. Tony poured 2 glasses of bourbon and handed one to Naruto. You should try that one. Naruto took it and stared cautiously at the amber-colored drink. He took a small sip at it to taste it. Not bad. Naruto looked contemplative for a second before saying. Yep, she really was. I can't believe I only met her when I was 13. Why's that? I only met her when my godfather, which is also my grandfather figure, tried to find her. She was something of a traveler and a medic. The thing is, she only stayed in bars and casinos even though she can never really win at gambling. Damn, and you basically win every time you play. Some weird family you got. Yup. So what about you, what's your story? Tony swirled his bourbon before taking a swig. You really don't know, do you? He saw Naruto shook his head no and continued, well, basically, it's the same as other wealthy families' stories. Parents don't have time for their kids. They died on a business trip when I was around your age. How old are you actually? 21, birthday in October. Naruto said. You're lucky. You never said they didn't love you. What I would give to get a chance like that. Did they beat you or something? Tony asked a little cautiously. He's aware that there are a lot of people who have it worse than him. No. As far as I know. They loved me a lot. I just never had the chance to meet them personally. They died on the day I was born. Some huge calamity happened on my birthday, took the lives of a lot of people in my hometown, including my parents. I only got to know their names when I was 17. Naruto said with a sad chuckle. There was a lull in the conversation, with both of them trying to cheer themselves up from the conversation. Got a girl in your life? Tony asked, trying to continue the conversation and stir it away from the heavy talk. You really think I would move to the US alone if I had a girl? Naruto said with a raised eyebrow. Well, I don't know. That's why I asked. Tony defended himself. How about you, you got someone? Naruto returned the question. No, not really. Only one night stands. Oh. How about that, Pepper? Pepper? Where'd you get that? We're great friends, I guess. But we don't have any romantic inclinations. Why not? Naruto asked. That simple question echoed continuously inside his head, getting louder and louder. Looking back, Tony would always say that particular question by Naruto changed his life. Naruto saw the blank stare on Tony's face. Being respectful, he allowed Tony to think over whatever he was thinking about. After a few more minutes, Naruto finally had enough and shook Tony to get his attention. So, what are you thinking about? Naruto asked with a sly smile. Nothing. Tony said a little too fast. So, what do you want to do now? Tony asked, trying to get the topic moving. Naruto thought for a second before removing a small calling card from his jacket pocket and showed it to Tony. You said you own this place, right? I had one of your attendants gave this to me saying that if I have any problems, just call the number on this and look for Ricardo Falcone. Want to look into it? Naruto immediately knew that the attendant is up to no good since he already saw a lot of those scams when he was with Tsunade. It also helped that Kurama said that the guy reeks of negative emotions. Being a little thrill-seeker himself and intoxicated, Tony only saw the good side of this endeavor. Oh hell yeah. Let's go to security. Flashback to be continued. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 30, 2005, 10:30 local. Tony, talk to me. Don't think you can get out of this mess. Pepper said while pacing back and forth in front of the dazed Tony. Having enough, she snapped at him. Tony. Tony shook his head, snapping out of his daze and said, I never noticed how beautiful your hair is. Tony and Pepper both froze when the words left his mouth. He has no idea why he said it. Well, he has some idea, but now is not the time to linger on it. Did I just say that out loud? Tony asked with no one in particular, but Pepper nodded anyway. When Tony got his answer, he took a deep breath and said, damn. Naruto seriously did a number on me. Anyways, where was I? You went down to security. Pepper said helpfully. And we're going to talk about what that Naruto said to you later. Can we not? Tony asked, hoping not to go through the mushy stuff that they would be definitely trudging through when that conversation continues. Pepper only gave him a hard glare. Tony deflated, knowing he already lost. Trying to retake hold of the conversation, he finally continued trying to remember what happened. Flashback continues. Oh hell yeah. Let's go to security. Tony shouted while putting on his blazer. Why? Naruto asked. Well, do you know who gave this to you? Tony said while waving around the calling card. Naruto shook his head. No. That's why we're going there first. We need to find out WH gave this to you and who's this Falcone guy. Oh. Okay. What are we waiting for? Come on. Naruto said, vibrating with excitement. Okay, sheesh. Let me get my stuff first. Tony took his IDs and walked out the door. Naruto followed behind Tony with a hop in his step while Tony is trying to act sober. He led them straight to the office of the head of security. When they reached the office, Tony went right through the door without missing a step. Joey. How you doing? Tony asked the guy who was sitting on the opposite side of the desk. He didn't even notice the guy reaching for his gun. Joey Griffin is an unassuming 55-year-old, 5 feet 10 inches man with Irish descent. He has reddish-brown hair and green eyes. Joey was a Navy SEAL squad captain until he took a bullet to the knee, ending his field career. He was going to continue to serve the military as an instructor to help mold the any generation of SEALs, but the news of his daughter's cancer meant that he has to find a more profitable job. This led him straight to being hired by Stark Industries to be head of security for its subsidiary, MGM Hotels and Casinos. He's been assigned as head of security for all MGM buildings in Las Vegas. His increased pay and premium insurance had allowed his daughter to receive the best treatment possible. The reason he was still in his office was that there are multiple VIPs currently in the building, especially his boss's boss, Tony Stark. Seeing Tony Stark burst through his door at this time of night was the last thing he thought would happen. He calmed himself down and tried to stand up. But before he could stand up to shake his boss's hand, he felt a knife on his throat. Holy fuck. Naruto. When did you get there? Get that knife away from him. He's the one we're going to meet. Tony said to Naruto, finally noticing him standing behind one of his security officers. And can you teach me? Added Tony a little hesitantly. Naruto withdrew his knife away from the guy's neck and pocketed his knife. He walked back to the door while still keeping an eye on Joey. Joey, on the other hand, was scared for his life. He only felt this kind of fear when Saddam Hussein's private guard captured him, and now there's this guy, whoever the hell he is. He never even saw the guy pass through the door. Joey rubbed his neck and looked at Tony. Mr. Stark, not that I'm not happy to see you, but why are you here, and who's the guy who almost opened up my neck? Joey asked, still alert from the previous encounter. Hey, good to see you're still alive. Tony said with an awkward laugh. And this guy here is Naruto. He's kind of the reason why we're here. Joey narrowed his eyes to the blonde guy next to his boss. All the bells in his head are warning him that the guy is dangerous. You want me to call the police on him? Joey asked, completely serious. No, not really. He's the guy who'd been ripping off the people in the poker room. Tony informed Joey. Ah. I knew he looked familiar. Joey said, still not relaxing. And he's going to apologize for what he did, Tony said while looking straight at Naruto. Hey. He's the one who tried to draw a weapon. It's not my fault he's slow. Naruto defended himself. Ever since the war, he's wary of hidden weapons. It's better safe than SOR when it came to those. Joey tried to defend himself, but he knew he would do the same in that kind of situation. Naruto's answer just earned a look from Tony until he finally caved. Sorry. Naruto apologized while scratching the back of his head. Joey waited for something more, but he never got a continuation of that apology. After a few more seconds, he sighed and nodded. He then looked back at Tony and asked, by the way, why are you here, boss? 2 things. I want you to look for the attendant who greeted Naruto when he walked into the Bellagio, and what can you tell me about Ricardo Falcone? Tony answered while handing over the calling card to Joey. I'll look through the footage. Joey said while scrolling through his computer. He then looked at Naruto and asked, what time did you get in? Maybe around 7:30. Naruto answered. Okay. Joey opened his desk drawer and retrieved a folder. He slid it toward Tony's direction. In the meantime, that's the file I have on Falcone and the Bianchi crime family. Does Falcone have a man on the inside? According to this guy, yes. Tony said while patting Naruto while looking through the file. He told me the attendant gave him that card and said to call Ricardo Falcone. Damn, thought I got rid of them all. They just grow like weeds. Joey said while still scrolling with the CCTV footage. Got it, it's Morris Grant. He's got almost 5 years with us. He said and looked at Tony, who placed the folder on the desk. I'll take care of it, sir. Have a nice night. Okay, have nice night too, Joey. Tony said and left. Sorry again about the thing earlier. Naruto apologized again before following Tony. When they reached the elevator, Naruto asked, what now? Well, I saw 3 main locations for the Bianchi crime family. We can hit them all tonight. Tony said with a smile. Wait up. You're not coming with me. Do you even know how to fight? Or use one of those guns? Do you even have one of those? Naruto said while thinking about the mess bringing a civilian in a fight. Hey. Of course, I know how. I'm the CEO of a weapons manufacturing conglomerate. I designed and built more than half of what we sold. Tony said proudly. Do you even know where you are going? He asked, knowing the answer. Naruto hanged his head low for that minor oversight. The elevator door opened, showing the parking garage. Tony walked to a closed gate and placed his palm on a console. Whole gate lifted, revealing 2 cars, a black Hummer 5 and a hot rod red Ferrari Enzo. Tony walked over to the Hummer's driver's side door and got in. Naruto followed and got in the passenger side door. Tony started the car using the key from the visor. He then opened the glove and central compartment, revealing an FNF 2000 and a Beretta 92 FS, each with multiple magazines. Tony looked at Naruto smug and said, yes, I have some of those guns. Alright. I'm going to take point. You trail behind. Try not to use that on anyone. We don't want them dead. We wanted them captured by the police. Got that? Naruto laid out the plan. He could use shadow clones, but where's the fun in that? Why do you got to go first? I'm the one with the gun. Tony countered. You got almost no experience based on your reaction to Joey. You're a civilian. You're drunk. Take your pick. Naruto listed. Besides, I don't need a gun. I'm a close and personal kind of guy. By the way, can I have those shades? Naruto said the last part, pointing to the Ray-Ban Aviator Classic shades on the dashboard. Sure, go ahead. Don't see the reason why you would need those when it's dark out. Tony pointed out the obvious, ignoring the rest of the Naruto's statement but following his plan nonetheless. Naruto knew that wearing shades in the dark is stupid since it leaves you almost blind, but he's not going to use it to keep out the light. He'll use it to cover the change his eye would go through when he activates his dojutsu, RinneTenseiSharingan. Or simply Sharingan, because the full name is such a mouthful, and the death god is such a massive par of his life. His own dojutsu is the result of the equal parts mixing of Senju and Uchiha blood, forming the Rin Sharingan. The Tenseigan, the final form of the Byakugan, much like the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is to the Sharingan, was a byproduct of Kaguya Atsutsuki's blood mixing with his own. The process almost killed him, but he survived due to his Uzumaki vitality and Kurama's Yuki. The Sharingan combines all the best parts of the three dojutsus, making it the ultimate dojutsu. It allows him to see chakra networks and tenketsus, 3D X-ray vision up to 10 kilometers away, eidetic memory, telescopic vision, and a whole lot more. Tony stopped the car next to an apartment complex. He took both of the guns and 2 spare magazines before he looked at Naruto. Seeing that Tony is gearing up, Naruto slipped on the shades and activated his eyes. He can see 8 guys with weapons and an unarmed guy sleeping all on the top floor. You remember the plan? Naruto asked to confirm. Yep. I'm going to follow far behind you and try not to shoot anyone. Tony said. Naruto got off the car with Tony following behind him. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 30, 2005. 10:45 H local. You went in there with him? Pepper shouted angrily. She started pacing back and forth again. And you're the one who wanted to go with. What if you've been hurt or worse, killed? Well, I'm not that hurt, am I? Tony said while checking his body for any injuries. He only saw a small gash by his temple. Besides, you should have seen Naruto. The guy is force of nature. He took out everyone without a gun. Tony took on a contemplative face. Maybe I should hire him as a bodyguard. He can take on an army. What? No. You and that guy got in more trouble together than should be possible. My hair is turning white just thinking about what would happen. Pepper immediately denied the idea. Tony just laughed nervously. Pepper immediately had a bad feeling. She stopped pacing and stared. What did you do? Pepper asked dangerously. You remember the final bet? Tony asked, his nervousness showing. Yes. Pepper drawled out. Well, it's not only the 3 favors that I gave. I also would give him a room on LA and give him engineering and computer lessons. Tony said, waiting for the inevitable blow-up. What? Pepper reacted. She sat down next to Tony and took a deep breath. Just continue with what happened. Pepper said, giving up on the prospect of a dark future ahead of her. Sure. Tony said, hoping not to agitate Pepper more. Flashback continue. Ricardo Falcone is a high-positioned member of the Bianchi crime family. Although not related to the Bianchis, his father was one of the first outsiders who joined the crime family. His father's resourcefulness and loyalty allowed him to rise quickly through the ranks. He inherited the loan shark gig from his father and allowed it to grow to a profitable venture for the family. Ricardo would always be loyal to the Bianchis, that's why he ordered his men not to join any faction between Vinnie and Giovanni. He would usually join Vinnie's camp since Giovanni goes against everything of what a family stands for, but the family needs to survive the aftermath. Whatever happens between the brothers, the family would need capital to recover, and bringing everyone in for the confrontation would just fracture the family and increase the damage that would happen. That's his reason and what he told the 2 when they called for his support. They really can't question his loyalty since he's been loyal from the STA. He slept in one of the family's bases to make sure that if someone retaliated for him not joining any sides, He would be as far away from his family as possible. The 8-man guard is just extra precaution. He would be proven right to have them, but it wouldn't do a thing for what's to come. At least it's not one hostile Bianchi brother that came for him. Ricardo is looking at the clock, waiting for it to strike 2. That's when the Bianchi brothers would meet, and the fate of the family would be decided. He was lounging on the sofa with his men when someone knocked on the door. Everyone immediately tensed up and drew their weapons. The situation they are in had everyone on edge. The knocking continued until one of the guys closer to the door peeked through the eye hole. He saw a blonde guy with shades wearing a hoodie. He's relatively young too. The guard walked over to Ricardo and said, "There's some blonde guy on the other side of the door. Early 20s, I reckon. Check what he wants. Just be prepared for anything," Ricardo advised. The guard nodded and walked back to the door. He unlocked the door except for the door chain and opened it. "What do you want?" he said, trying to be more intimidating. "Hi," Naruto said in an overly cheery voice. "I'm looking for a Ricardo Falcone." The guard drew his pistol and pointed it at the guy behind the door, ready to kill him if he did anything wrong. "There's no one here by that name. Leave." The guard closed the door while still pointing his gun at it. He walked towards his boss and said, "He's looking for you. I sent him away." "Good. We don't want any distractions tonight," Ricardo said. As soon as everyone sat down, they heard another knock on the door. The guard jogged to the door, annoyed and ready to turn the guy away again. When he was trying to reach for the door, it suddenly burst open. Naruto saw the guy running to the door with his Sharingan. This was the perfect moment to attack. They would be unprepared, thinking that the same guy is just looking for their boss again. He kicked the door open and immediately disabled the guard with precise and accurate attacks on the guard's tenketsus. He saw everyone frozen in their spot. He ran towards the center of the room. He lowered himself and extended both of his hands and said, "You're within the range of my divination. 8 trigrams 64 palms." He hit each person left mobile in the room, including Ricardo Falcone, 8 times, effectively temporarily paralyzing everyone. He dragged everyone and lined them up on the wall. "You can come in now," Naruto said towards the hallway. Tony saw almost everything that happened by peeking by the end of the hallway near the staircase. He was pretty sure his gun wouldn't do a thing even at this distance. What can't figure out is how did Naruto paralyze everyone with only a few pokes here and there. Tony walked towards the apartment and saw Naruto looking over a guy in a gray 3-piece suit. "That's Ricardo Falcone." "Holy shit, that's a big catch," Tony said with a little bit of shock. He didn't expect some of the big guys to be here. "Yup. Can you check the cabinet for files or anything incriminating? Take a picture of everything if you can. Call the cops too before we leave." Tony nodded to Naruto's request but not before mumbling about something about him not being his sidekick. Tony began checking through the drawers and cabinets. He laid out every document he could find and laid it out on the table, and took photos of everything. While Tony was doing that, Naruto was opening up some tenketsus on Falcone so he can be mobile enough to ask some questions. "Where's your boss?" Naruto asked so he can take down the crime family straight from the top quickly. Falcone just kept his mouth shut, knowing that someone like this guy going after Vinnie during his showdown might as well cause the family collapse. Seeing that Falcone wouldn't talk without some extreme measures which he can't use since apparently torture is frowned upon in this world, he applied a small genjutsu on him to make him more cooperative. Due to the atrophied chakra network of the residents of this world, Falcone can't even put up a fight against the genjutsu. "I'm going to ask again, where's your boss?" "He's at the abandoned warehouse north of the city where the underground fights usually happen," Falcone said, not adding the part about the Bianchi brothers' showdown since he wasn't explicitly asked about it. Naruto knocked out Falcone and went over to get Tony. "You done here?" Naruto asked. "Yep, just about. Can't believe the dirt on these guys, and it's only one side of their business," Tony said while fixing up the file on the table. Tony then jogged out of the door, followed by Naruto but not before taking a photo of the guards and Falcone. He texted a contact he has from the FBI about what they found out. He's pretty high up the ladder, make sure the Bianchi can't bury the case. When they got in the car, Naruto said, "We should go to the warehouse district. Do you know the address of their base there? If not, I can guide you." "Yeah, one of their bases is around there." Tony started the car and drove north. "You know, What we did back there was kind of fun even though I didn't do much. What are you saying? You did most of the work. I just beat those guys down. Naruto reassured. When they were nearing the warehouse, Naruto told Tony to pull over. Why do you want me to stop here? We're still 2 blocks away. Tony argued. We might encounter guards outside since their boss is there. It's easier to sneak in on foot than this huge car. Naruto said, already knowing that there are guards posted outside with 2 factions meeting on the inside of the warehouse. He formed a plan quickly in his head that would make them do the least amount of work. Tony almost banged his head on the steering wheel for not thinking about it. The 2 immediately dismounted the car and walked towards the warehouse. They're sticking in shadows with Naruto still on point. When they were a building away from the warehouse, Naruto pointed an alleyway for them to enter. Here's the plan. I want you to find a way to get on top of the warehouse and go down to the catwalk. I'm going to cause a distraction. When you see it, fire your weapon. After that, hang tight and enjoy the show. Naruto said with a grin. Tony had no idea why Naruto would plan something like that, but seeing Naruto operate, he just decided to trust Naruto with this. But still, he has a question. What's the distraction? Tony asked. You'll know it when you see it. Naruto said. Tony just nodded to the vague answer. The 2 separated with Naruto running towards a shadow and somehow disappearing in it. In his slightly intoxicated state, he just dismissed the event. Tony lurked around the warehouse, looking for a way up, making sure he was sticking to the shadows. He finally saw a fire escape. Tony climbed up the ladder. He looked around to look for any guards. Seeing none, he proceeded to go to the skylight and drop down it to the catwalk. Naruto's plan finally made sense when he saw the scene inside the warehouse. He didn't even question how he knew. There looks like 2 groups with the 2 older guys lead in the groups. They looked like to be talking calmly, but an undercurrent of tension can be seen on everyone. While he was looking over the developing situation, he finally understood what the distraction was. Thick white smoke was rolling in from every crevice. He had no idea how Naruto did it, but it was goddamned effective. Tony aimed at the back of one group and fired. All hell broke loose. Both factions were already tense before the smoke screen, but the tension skyrocketed after it. The sound of gunfire immediately prompted both sides to fire in the general direction of their enemy. Gunfire was raining from both sides, hitting enemies and allies alike due to the smoke. The only one unharmed were the 2 older guys, who have been protected and pulled away pretty fast. The fighting was just about to die down when a bullet flew past Tony, causing him panic and backpedaled. He tripped backward and hit his head on the guide bars of the catwalk. This immediately knocked him out. Naruto saw this happen even though he's quite the distance away watching the situation unfold. He always kept an eye on Tony to make sure he's safe. He knew the bullet wouldn't Tony, but he should have accounted for the instinctual reactions of civilians. He immediately shunshined to Tony's location and checked on his vitals. Naruto finally took a relaxing breath when he determined that Tony was just knocked out cold. Losing his patience for the fighting to stop entirely, Naruto threw another smoke bomb, covering further the whole warehouse with smoke. He jumped down and used his Sharingan to determine all the conscious or abled bodies left inside the warehouse. Naruto determined that there are 15 people left able to fight back, excluding the 2 leaders. They're both hiding behind some crates on the far side of the room. He rapidly struck down all the fighters with a little less finesse than he used on Falcone's men. He has some little leeway on the damage since both sides are already shooting at each other. Naruto used a combination of intercepting fist and gentle fist fighting style. He struck down everyone he came up against while hiding himself in the smoke. The HIG speed bullets certainly made the fight a little more enjoyable. When every one of the guards is down or dead, Naruto attacked, temporarily paralyzed both of the leaders and dragged them to the middle of the room. Naruto was going to start asking questions when he heard the sirens indicating the cops are nearby. They must have responded to the gunshot reports from the area. He gave you on trying to get more information and just decided to bug out. He picked up Tony and sealed his guns. He shunshined towards the car and sealed it too after making sure that N1 is around. Naruto only used Shunshin all the way to the hotel, since he hadn't left a Hiraishin tag in there. When he reached the underground parking of the Bellagio, he unsealed the car in the garage and Shunshined towards Tony's penthouse. He looked for Tony's room. When he found it, he left Tony on the bed and walked away, making sure the door is closed behind him. Naruto walked towards the penthouse door and said to himself, "What a night. I think I earned myself a little ramen." Before going out and finding somewhere who serve ramen in this city at this time. Flashback end, that's all I remember. Tony finished his story. "Where's Naruto anyway?" he asked while looking around the penthouse with Pepper following him. "I don't know. I didn't saw anyone when I came here 2 hours ago," Pepper said. "Happy's missing too," Tony stated his observation. "He's with Joey and the feds giving their statements." "Don't worry, there's a lawyer with them," Pepper reassured. She's one of the people who's managing the damage control for Tony and this Naruto's mess. Just let them tell the truth. That 2 guys took down a criminal empire in Vegas that everyone else can't," Tony said, with a proud smile. Pepper just took a deep calming breath and said, "Just call your lawyers and work it out with them before giving a statement. I'm going to try to find your friend." Tony poured himself a cup of coffee and looked behind her. "No need, he's right behind you," Tony said with a grin. Pepper immediately turned around and saw a blonde-haired guy with blue eyes wearing a hoodie. He was eating a cup of instant noodles using chopsticks. What infuriated her more than she already is was the carefree look he has. "You," Pepper shouted while pointing at Naruto. "Me?" Naruto asked dumbly, not following the conversation. "Yes, you. What do you have to say for yourself? Dragging around my boss across town to bring down the mob." Naruto's expression took on something like he finally understood something. He took on a cheerful smile. It was Tony's turn to feel the chill running down his spine, seeing the smile in Naruto's face. "Oh. You must be Pepper," Naruto said while extending his hand. Pepper just shook Naruto's hand, getting swept by his friendly demeanor. "Did Tony finally ask you for a date? That's why you're here, right?" Tony spat his coffee, hearing Naruto's question. New York City, New York, March 30, 2005, 0800H. Local Natasha had just landed on the roof of the SHIELD New York field office using a Quinjet. She had barely slept along the way. The stress of the manhunt of a possible alien and accidental discovery of a superhuman in Vegas weighs heavily in her mind. When she got off the Quinjet, she was expecting Barton or Carlson to meet her on the helipad. What she was not expecting is Nick Fury standing with both of them. "Didn't expect to see you here, sir," Natasha greeted her boss while giving a small nod to Barton and Carlson. "Let's get inside. I'll talk along the way," Fury said and walked toward the roof entrance. "I was not expecting to be here too, but I got an interesting call 2 hours ago." Fur looked back to see if he got everyone's attention, especially Romanoff. "But first, I want you to tell them about what you found first while you're on your brief vacation." Natasha immediately knew that the call must be related to Naruto. What the hell could he have done that would warrant a call to Fury himself in the span of a 5-hour flight? Seeing the attention of her colleagues was on her, she spoke. "I was on my way to Vegas to take my break after the mission in LA when I met a guy on walking by the side of the I-15. "What? You picked up someone? Didn't know you got it in you," Barton teased. He just couldn't resist teasing Natasha every opportunity he gets. Fury, already used to the two, just let the interruption pass. "Shut up, Clint, or I'm going to tell Laura about Tbilisi." Seeing Barton effectively cowed, Natasha continued, "Anyway, the guy had nothing on him except his clothes. According to him, he just moved to the US and traveling around. He said he lost all his stuff and going to Vegas to get some money to continue his travel, which in my opinion is crazy. Bulletin what got my attention and caused me to call boss is that he said that he was a freelance contractor. So your first hitchhiker is a contract killer. Good to know, Romanoff," Carlson said with a smile. He already deduced that the situation is not as bad as it seems since Fury is not giving the report. "You shut up too. I can still key Lola." Carlson's smile fell off his face too. "When we left our separate ways, I was still thinking about what he said, so I started digging. Nothing came up in all available databases. Damn, he must be good," Barton said with a whistle. "So, I got a little desperate and made contact with the Bianchis." Her two colleagues were about to reprimand her for doing something reckless, but she already anticipated it and placed her hands over their mouths before continuing. "I made sure I have leverage before I got in. But either way, I certainly got more than I thought." They arrived in a briefing room. To emphasize her point, she projected the fight on the wall to show them. "As you can see, I was proven right to be wary of him. He's good, Coulson said in a clipped tone. This part you won't like, Coulson, Natasha warned him. Shield Tech analyzed the video. The results showed that he is better, at least physically, than Captain. Captain who? Coulson asked, not getting the statement. Natasha pointed to a flag outside the room. His face immediately paled. Someone managed to remake the serum. H asked with a shake in his voice. Captain America has always been his hero. Learning that someone, somewhere, had somehow recreated the serum is massive news for him. No, not that we are aware of, but we're not completely sure, Natasha answered. I was going to make contact with him in the Bellagio since he was playing poker, but Tony Stark got to him first. How? Barton exclaimed. He's apparently excellent at poker and Stark heard about it. He invited him to his private game. Natasha answered. Thank you for the report, Romanoff. Fury interjected. Reports have come in that all the high-level and most of the low-level members of the Bianchi crime family has been arrested. Don't tell me it's Naruto, Natasha asked. Who's Naruto? Another ghost, Coulson asked, remembering a SHIELD special op agent codenamed Ghost due to her ability to phase through solid objects and partial capability to be invisible. No, Naruto is the guy I found in Vegas, Natasha clarified. Your boyfriend did that? He's hardcore, Barton said. He's not my boyfriend. Where the hell in my report did you get that? Natasha denied vehemently. Fury cleared his throat to get everyone's attention. As much as I like to get into Romanoff's romantic life. Natasha gave him the stink eye with that statement. We have to get back to the topic at hand. Yes, Naruto was one of the people responsible for Bianchi family downfall. One of them. Coulson picked up on Fury's choice of words. Yes. He apparently thought it was a fun idea to bring a civilian. Fury took on a more serious expression. He took with him a drunk Tony Stark. Coulson and Barton had a wide-eyed expression before laughing hysterically. Both of them thinking of what they wouldn't give to see that guy tow a drunk Stark around while taking down a crime family. That's got to be an event for the ages. Natasha, on the other hand, is banging her head on the table repeatedly. How the hell can so much happen within 2 days of her meeting him? She currently wishes that she hadn't taken that vacation to Vegas. Maybe then she would have one less problem to deal with. I sent additional teams to monitor the situation. If Stark's army of lawyers can't deal with the situation, I'll make some moves, Fury said while outlining his plan. For the other reason, I'm here. He turned to Coulson before continuing. I want everything you got about the 083. I have a meeting with POTUS and JCS. They want an update on TH event. They're also going to show me something that could be related to the 083. Apparently, it's for eyes only. Finishing his statement, Fury started to walk out of the room. But before he could leave entirely, he looked back and said to Romanoff, before I forget, Naruto Uzumaki has suddenly appeared in our databases. You might want to look into that after this. He then walked out. Natasha groaned again, hearing the news. Why can't everything be so simple? Naruto probably found a high-class forger in Vegas. Average forging jobs would not show in their databases since no paper trail would be made. Bianchi probably knew who is the best forger in Vegas, but it probably has to wait. The mission right now has the most precedent. Natasha faced Coulson and Barton and asked, want to catch me up on what's happening here? I'll go first since my side has the least progress. Barton said to both of them. The search for the alien or the reason for the spotlight? Spotlight. Natasha asked for clarification. Well, 083 is just dull. So we call it the spotlight. Barton answered. No lead panned out. If there's an alien that crossed using the spotlight, there's no sign for it anywhere. The cause of the spotlight is now assumed caused by the alien, so we can't move forward without finding it. Barton finished his report before looking at Coulson to report his side. The techs found no trace evidence at the site. The only clue we have is the 8 cherry blossoms trees that grew exactly 100 m away from the site and positioned at the 8 directions of the compass. The trees are virtually indestructible, only the bark and leaf samples are taken. The genetic test identified the tree as Yoshino blossom. Ancient, Asian, and other unidentified scripts were found on the tree. Each text is made out of smaller texts that can only be viewed microscopically. The microscopic texts that can be translated have multiple repetitions of the words bridge and barrier. That's why I hypothesized that there might be an alien. Coulson finished his comprehensive report. Natasha absorbed both of her colleagues' reports. After a few seconds, she asked, "All right, so what do we do next?" "We," Barton indicated both himself and Natasha, "are going to keep finding that alien. Coulson's going to compile a report for Fury, then continue reading through witness statements." Barton finished. "All right, let's go," Natasha said. She stood up and walked out of the door, followed by Barton and Coulson. Kamartaj, Kathmandu, Nepal, March 30, 2005, 12:45 H. Local Ancient One. The three guests bowed down in front of her as a sign of respect. "Good. You're all here. Have a seat." The Ancient One pointed to a chabude with 1 sitting pillows on one side and 3 on the other. The table has a small basket of biscuits and a pot of tea. The Ancient One served everyone a cup of tea. Everyone took a sip of their drink as customary before she finally said, "Let's get to business, shall we?" The Ancient One said with her usual smile. Everyone in the room showed their agreement. "Let me start with the most important point first. Master Pangborn." "Yes, Ancient One." Jonathan Pangborn straightened his back in attention. Jonathan Pangborn is a 6 feet 2 inches, medium-built, 30 years old, Caucasian man who came to Kamartaj after an accident in the factory he worked for rendered him paralytic from the waist down. He came to Kamartaj in hopes of being able to walk again, as the same as many stories he heard. The Ancient One accepted him as a student and started his own journey in the way of the mystical arts. This allowed him to use his legs again. "You're able to use your legs again in its fullest, am I right?" the Ancient One asked. Pangborn nodded his head in affirmative. "When are you planning to live the order, if I may ask?" Of course, she already knew the answer due to the power of the eye, but the conversation would be more natural if Pangborn is the one who laid out his plans. Pangborn looked shocked for a moment, as well as Caecilius and Mordo. The last of which felt betrayed that someone would willingly leave the order when they achieve their goals. "Around a year from now, Master," Pangborn finally answered. "Good," she said. This drew shocked expressions from the people in the room. They would have thought she would be against Pangborn leaving. But not good enough. "I want Yo to leave immediately." It seems like this whole conversation would continue to shock them all. Nobody heard the Ancient One asked someone to live. "May I ask why, Master?" Pangborn asked with a shake in his voice due to nervousness. The Ancient One just smiled, enjoying drawing these reactions. Being centuries old, entertainment becomes a scarce resource. "For your final mission, of course," she said. Pangborn drew a calming breath, hearing something to reassure him. He really wouldn't want to be on the Ancient One's wrong side. "As you would leave the order anyway, I'm giving one last mission for you. I want you to gather information on anything or anyone that might seem strange. The more powerful, the better. Your will be done, Master." "May I ask why and when should I leave?" Pangborn asked. "Of course, you may ask, but I won't reveal the answer until I have identified who or what it is," the Ancient One said, losing her smile. "As for when, I prefer if you leave as soon as possible. Maybe after the gathering. Bring your items with you, you won't have to go back here again unless I call for you," she answered. Pangborn stood up, bowed, and left, but before he could go far, the Ancient One added, "Find the yellow fox. It's the only clue I could find." Pangborn bowed again and left to pack for his journey. Caecilius and Mordo are staring dumbfounded to the exchange. They guessed a similar conversation would happen with them. "Now that's done." The Ancient One faced Caecilius. "After the gathering, I want you to pore over our records for any mention of a yellow fox," she ordered. Caecilius is a 6 feet 0 inches, broad-built, 40 years old man who came to Kamartaj with the help of Karl Mordo. Mordo introduces Caecilius to the Ancient One to help Caecilius understand the grief he acquired when he lost his son and his wife. As much as she hates it, the coming of Dormammu is an essential event in the future to make sure Strange would step up as the Sorcerer Supreme. The demon would need a follower from this world to weaken the shields, and the most likely candidate is still Caecilius. Ordering him to look into the library would lead him to encounter the history of Dormammu. His grief and discontent would draw him to the demon's power and start the whole event. "Yes, Master." Caecilius nodded. The Ancient One waved her hand, indicating he is dismissed. Caecilius stood up and left. The Ancient One stared at Mordo. She was thinking about which approach would make him less likely to betray the Order in the future. Karl Mordo is one of the most promising students the Ancient One ever had. He's a 5 feet 10 inches, broad-built, 45 years old, African-English man. He came to Camartage, hoping to acquire the power to file his revenge, but eventually found peace under the Ancient One's tutelage. Deciding on her plan, the Ancient One waved her hand, materializing a journal. This is one of my summarized journals. I write one every century I'm alive to keep track of the critical event. She placed the journal and slid it to Mordo's direction. I want you to read it. Ask any question, anytime. I'll try to answer with the best of my ability. Showing him her choices from her point of view might lessen the chance of his betrayal in the future. His future is not clearly shown since the yellow fox would somehow cross his path. Picking up the journal reverently, Mordo bowed deeply while still sitting down. Thank you for giving me the chance to read this, Master. Let me warn you. This does not mean you would be the next Sorcerer Supreme. I still think your talents are better suited for other endeavors. I understand, Master. Mordo said while gritting his teeth lightly. The Ancient One has been telling him this for quite some time, but he still doesn't understand why she doesn't want for him to take on the mantle. The Ancient One stood up and motioned him to follow her. It's time for the gathering. I'm quite excited to talk about the future, she said while smiling brightly. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 30, 2005, 1600 H local. In conclusion, Mr. Tony Stark and his accomplice had broken no laws in their action against the Bianchi crime family. Instead, they have done a great service to the people Las Vegas by removing one of this city's blight to society. The spokesperson of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department continued with his speech on live television. Tony, Pepper, Happy, and finally, Naruto is sitting in the living room eating fast food takeout as their late lunch while watching the report. Tony and Naruto had just come back from the police station 30 minutes ago, giving their statements off the record. Tony's army of lawyers has straightened out the situation with the police, discouraging them in filing a case against Tony, in extension Naruto. Pepper has also done amazingly her job in the public relations department. She had created and executed a PR plan that would turn Tony as a hero fighting against an underground enemy. The news of Tony Stark's involvement in bringing down a successful and entrenched organized crime group skyrocketed his popularity with the masses. Tony's reputation had effectively sidelined Naruto, but that's the way he liked it. He really should think about the faster and more effective way news disseminates in this world. Everything he does that is too public or too flashy can immediately be found out by the whole world. Happy is still a little upset with what happened. Not because his boss was in danger, but because he hasn't been able to come. Tony would fight against the Bianchis either way. It's better to have been there with his boss to make sure he wouldn't get hurt. He can't even really get mad against Naruto cause he did one hell of a knob keeping Tony back while still keeping him involved enough to point his attention. On the other hand, Pepper is still seething against Tony and Naruto for doing something stupid. Her ire doubled for Naruto since he's the reason Tony went to fight against the mob. Another source of her annoyance is that Naruto is still pushing for her and Tony to get together, although he's only doing it while they're alone. The worst thing is that it's working. She has been imagining continuously what it would be like to be with Tony in a romantic capacity. The only thing stopping her is that she knew that Tony's personality would be counterproductive in a long-term relationship. If she wants to have the relationship she wants with Tony, some parts of his character would need to change, especially his playboy lifestyle. Naruto's question is still bouncing around Tony's mind. Echoing. His brilliant mind is working against him, concocting vivid scenarios of living with Pepper until they were gray and old with their family around them. Noticing Tony's blank stare, Pepper nudged him and asked, "Are you alright?" Yeah. I'm fine. Just thinking about stuff," Tony said, placating Pepper. She didn't believe it for a second but let it go anyway. She looked over to Naruto and saw him eating another bowl of ramen. How can someone eat so much of that stuff is beyond her. Tony noticed the wary but thoughtful look at Naruto. This reminded him of what he was supposed to ask earlier. "Hey, Naruto?" Tony shouted to get his attention. Naruto answered while still having some noodles dangling from his mouth. "I was thinking of going back to LA tomorrow. Are you coming with?" Tony asked. The question immediately drew the attention of everyone in the room, remembering the bet of Naruto staying at the Malibu house. Pepper was still hoping that it wouldn't happen. It will make their lives a lot more complicated. Happy is just watching, interested in hiring Naruto in some capacity. I'm not going to stay for a while. I still have some traveling to do, Naruto said with a smile after swallowing the noodles. Tony just nodded. He was secretly relieved that Naruto would not stay for a while. He really would like to talk to Pepper first about Naruto's suggestion without the added complication. Pepper had roughly the same thought running through her mind. As a matter of fact, I might be leaving tonight, Naruto said. He's thinking about trying to get a head start on his plan. I'll take 100 million with me, as for the rest, I'll just buy some shares in your company. Naruto explained his plan for the money he won in the game. Pepper can handle that. Tony just waved his hand. Pepper is typing away in her phone, listing out Naruto's plan. Just call ahead before going to LA. There might be no one there if you just stroll in, Tony informed Naruto. Don't be too sad, old man. I'll drop by soon, Naruto said with a cheeky smile. Tony just groaned and rolled his eyes. It would undoubtedly be an interesting experience being close to Naruto. Oh, before I forgot, Naruto said while pulling 3 strips of paper from his pocket. He gave each one of them a piece. If ever you're in trouble, like life or death situation, just tear that piece of paper. I'll be by in a flash. He finished with a grin. White House, Washington, D.C. March 31, 2005, 0800H. Local Fury hated being in the White House. Even if he used the secret entrance to hide his presence, the White House is still one of the most publicly known places on Earth. He feels too exposed in this place. He headed straight to a separate meeting room in the White House. Away from the usual foot traffic the other parts usually get. Fury headed straight inside the room, not even acknowledging the guards posted outside. As soon as he got in, he saw a circular table where the President, Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs, Secretary of Defense, and the Director of both CIA and the FBI. He looked at each one of them, recalling their dossier. The first one is President Alan Trumbull. A 6 feet 2 inches, medium-built, 68 years old, African-American man. He is the first non-white president ever to be elected into office. A relatively clean man, in contrast to other politicians, he focused on international relations, making it relatively harder for S.H.I.E.L.D. to get around. General Joseph the Viper Colton is the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. A 6 feet 0 inches, muscularly built, balding, 50-year-old Caucasian man. He is a career military man just like H. father before him. He first started his career at the tail end of the Vietnam War in acquiring multiple decorations. He has climbed quickly through the ranks until he finally was able to lead a war theater of the Gulf Wars. His performance in the Gulf Wars allowed him to be nominated as the chairman JCS by 2 presidents. Joe earned his moniker by being a brilliant commander capable of brutal decisions against the enemy. John Voight is the Secretary of Defense. He is a 6 feet 2 inches, bulky, white-haired, 66-year-old Caucasian man. Unlike many of the former SEC defs, he has never joined the military but worked as a specialist and consultant. His knowledge with the military and his mental acumen being the reason Trumbull appointed him. The director of the CIA, Alan Hunley, is the primary rival of Fury. He's a 6 feet 0 inches, large-built, pepper-haired, 47-year-old Caucasian man. The CIA has always been a little envious of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s resources. Alan Hunley has the same stance as the other high-level CIA members, that S.H.I.E.L.D. is an overhyped spy agency that has no real purpose except for investigating the weird stuff. He was a field operative that retired for a safer desk job after he married. The director of the FBI, on the other hand, is still doing some field ops from time to time. A 6 feet 1 inch, lean-muscled, 40 years old, brown-haired Caucasian, Seeley Joseph Booth is a former Army Ranger who joined the FBI after having enough of the violence. He vowed to catch as many criminals as he had killed. He only partially retired in the field after his daughter is born and aimed to be the director of the FBI. Fury sat down on the last available chair without another word. Trumbull cleared his throat and said, "I have here in my hands is the only copy left of something that can be a threat to national security," Trumbull said while lifting a folder in his hands. "I'll let Colton report a summary. I'll pass this around. You can't make a copy of anything in this file. Reserve your questions for later." he said in an authoritative tone before passing the folder to Secretary DEF at 8:45 p.m. 2 days ago. A pair of technicians from Edwards Air Force Base noticed an anomaly in one of their experimental machines. Ladder has picked up a small, high-speed object crashing in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Voight passed the folder to Hunley, his expression showing concern and interest at the same time. The folder must really have something interesting in it. A man appeared suddenly on top of the crash site. We used God's eye to get more detail. After some time, he created a clone, and the clone ran towards the direction of LA. The main body ran toward Las Vegas. Fury immediately perked up hearing Las Vegas. Something in the back of his mind is screaming at him and slowly getting more evident. Like a puzzle slowly being completed. He saw Hunley passing the folder towards Booth with apparent interest. We lost him before he reached Vegas, but we noted that he was running at around 200 to 250 kilometers per hour. Colton finished. We have no idea who or what he is, but he is somehow connected to the event in New York due to his appearances close to the event. The direction of the object was also determined to come from the direction of New York. He would be considered a threat to national security until proven otherwise. Trumbull said. Booth passed the folder to Fury. His face is severe but unreadable. I want S.H.I.E.L.D. to take pints since it's their specialization. Everyone here would help them with finding out more about the man. Everyone nodded to the president's orders, with Inky Hunley slightly disgruntled. Fury finally opened the folder, a picture as the first page, a black and white photo standing in the middle of nowhere. His instincts screaming at him, he turned the page showing a portrait taken by God's eye. A very familiar man. Goddamned Naruto Uzumaki. He felt like banging his head on the table repeatedly, but his professional attitude allowed him stay stoic. Trumbull noticed Fury's silence. What are you thinking, Fury? Trumbull asked. I need to call my team and send one immediately to Vegas. Fury said, lying smoothly. Hunley stared at him for a moment, trying to ascertain his thoughts but immediately gave up, remembering how different his and Fury's skill level is. The president nodded and dismissed them. Fury immediately headed toward the secret entrance and called Romanoff. When she answered, Fury immediately said the one thing that could make her stress skyrocket without waiting for Romanoff to greet him. Naruto is the alien. Kamartaj, Kathmandu, Nepal, March 30, 2005, 1300 H. Local A short walk to the main training grounds. The Ancient One saw it was full of elders, masters, and apprentices. Mordo walked forward and lined up with the other masters. The Ancient One can't help but smile at the sight of all the sorcerers and sorceresses gathered. She still can't believe that sometimes that the order grew from 50 from her time to 1,500 now. Although she used the power of the enemy to unnaturally extend her life, she can't deny that seeing this now almost made everything worth it. She walked towards the observation stage high up on the side of a building. Everyone is waiting for her announcement. Curious and excited at the same time. Through all the years the Ancient One had been leading the order, a gathering of this size had never happened. The Ancient One looked to one of the masters standing at the top of the wall and gave him a nod. The master called his hand together and spread it wide, extending his arms to the side. A bright circular orange spell array enlarges from where his hands met and grew exponentially. Similar occurrence arrays are growing around the perimeter of the wall when the arrays meet. Sparks are formed until the two merged. This continued to occur until the whole training ground has been covered. The vast array acts as a barrier, ensuring that nothing she said would come out. Happy with the barrier, the Ancient One started her announcement. Elders, masters, apprentices. I have ordered this gathering to announce the new track the order would take. This announcement drew a variety of reactions from the crowd, especially from the elders. The order is formed as the first and last defense against the mystic and the supernatural. We made sure that the world we lived in remains safe. This garnered agreement from everyone. We have done this mission flawlessly. The world still stands as a whole, doesn't it? Laughter and giggling spread through the crowd. She then lifted the eye in the air to show everyone. Our first Sorcerer Supreme created this artifact, the Eye of Agamotto. Reading its history in our library, you would know the eye used a more powerful object as its heart, the Time Stone. She opened the iris of the eye, showing the green glow the stone emits. A solid manifestation of one of the aspects of the universe. This gives the user the capability of manipulating time. The Ancient One revealed. She knew disclosing this information would cause problems in the future, but she argued that this would make her plan more accepted. I only used most of the powers of the stone in the direst of circumstances except for the one I use every day at noon. The ability to see the future. Murmur spread throughout the audience. I religiously look into the future, seeing my end every time. Until the session, I had this noon. I didn't see my death in the near future, not like the others. For the first time, I saw the future beyond it. I saw the end of more than half of the life in the universe. Shock and fear can be seen throughout. The power of something that can wipe out half of all life is a frightening thought. But we are here, and we have the power to stop it or undo it. Whatever we might need to do. This lifted the spirits of everyone. What I want is for the order to grow in numbers and skill. We have to have as much power as we can have before it happens, and after it, if we fail to stop it. One particular elder raised his hand to ask the question in everyone's mind. When the Ancient One acknowledges the elder, he stood up and asked, "How much time do we have?" The answer chilled their body to the core. An almost unreasonable time frame. 13 years. An apprentice typically only becomes a master after 20 years of studying and training. Only a few can do it in less than 15 years, an example of which is Mordo, who did it in 9 years. The more worrying task is the recruitment to bolster their numbers. Camartage only typically gets 10 to 50 applications a year. To recruit more and make them combat ready in 13 years would require dedication from everyone. I know you all feel the weight of our daunting task, but have no fear. We have no other recourse, but forward or death would befall the universe. Las Vegas, Nevada, March 30, 2005, 20:30 Local Naruto is sitting on a bench by the side of the road, just watching and observing the world around him. The people and the environment still a shock to him, but he got to admit that he is adjusting just fine. He guessed that this hobby needs to be developed since being mortal means a lot of waiting around. The first reports of the clones around the world are coming in since 3 hours ago. The Baijus are busy organizing the information in his head to make sure his brain doesn't overload. Naruto could see the cities he sent his clones to and felt the connection to his Hiraishin tags. "What's next, kid?" Kurama suddenly asked, startling Naruto from his crowd watching. "Traveling first. I want to see what we are dealing with. Japan seems a perfect place to start. It looks like it has a lot of similarities with our world." Naruto answered. "Yeah, it seems like it." Kurama said. "You notice the tail, right?" "Of course. They're really sloppy. Can't even seem to hide their presence." Naruto said. SHIELD has sent 2 recon packages to Stark and Naruto to make sure nothing can get past them. A rapid response team was also added on standby after the Bianchi fiasco. The group following Naruto had broken off after he left the hotel. When they saw him leave the room without any luggage, they just assumed he was going out to buy some ramen, again. What they don't know is that everything he has, including his bag of $100 mil cash, is already stored in his seal in the bathroom, the only place without a CCTV on the penthouse floor. Naruto already made the surveillance team the moment they came, not because of their hostile intent, but the feeling of being watched tipped him. Naruto unsealed a folded world map in his pocket with many signs and marks on it. Looking over it intently, he finally made his decision. Naruto stood up and walked over to the alley behind him, still with agents following him. Agent Richard Rogers is one of the agents leading the recon team. They have been disgruntled when they were tasked to follow a playboy billionaire and some kid. Their team is one of the best in the US, so they have no idea why they were assigned to this op. His team is following one of their targets, Naruto Uzumaki. They have lost him once during their 2-day stay, and it was during the Bianchi fiasco. Their bosses gave them some dressing down, but overall it could have been worse. They saw him pull out a piece of paper from his pocket, but they can't see what it is. He stood up a moment later before walking down the alley behind him, which is weird but totally normal behavior for him. A tail is already following him some distance away, and a drone from above ensures he isn't lost. A gust of wind suddenly blew across, momentarily covering the camera with a piece of newspaper. When the paper finally dislodged, the target is gone. Frantic on the prospect of losing him again, Rogers immediately lunged to the radio on the dashboard. "This is Oculus Main, come in, Oculus One, confirming visual on Whiskers," Rogers said to the radio, using their handles. "Negative, Oculus 1 through 5 already searching." The voice on the other end finally said. "Acknowledge. Continue search. Over," Rogers ordered. After 30 minutes, Another transmission from the radio came in. This is Oculus 1. Target lost. Orders. Return to stage 1. Over. Rogers said before finally setting down the radio. He slumped on the steering wheel thinking about the lashing he would get again for losing the target, again best in the US, my ass. He took his phone and texted a message to his boss. Target lost. Request backup. Bellagio Hotel Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada, March 30, 2005, 2100 H local. Well, it looks like already left. Tony said to Pepper. Tony and Pepper went to dinner in one of the hotel restaurants, and they drank 4 bottles of wine between them. Naruto stayed behind to finish up his picking, but it looks like he left already. Happy, on the other hand, said he would be doing something so he won't be able to join them. It looks like he got himself a date. That's a relief. I can finally relax a little. Pepper said with a sigh. Hey. He's not that bad. Tony defended Naruto. Pepper only gave him a disapproving look. Okay. Maybe he is. But he's fun to be around. Fun for you, maybe, but trouble for me. I still can't believe you two took down the mob. We're just awesome that way. Tony said with a grin. Pepper only gave him another one of those looks. Tony recentered himself. You should have seen him. He took down 8 guys faster than a coin to drop. I barely saw him move. He placated her. Thinking about the Falcone takedown. That maybe, but you barely have any experience in combat, only theoretical and controlled environment. You shouldn't even be there. Pepper countered. There was a lull in the conversation. Both are thinking about what they just said. The silence allowed their minds to wander off, naturally drawing to the idea implanted by Naruto. Pepper is looking subtly at Tony when she saw his mouth starting to move, trying to find a start for the conversation. Quickly deducing where the next talk is going, she promptly cut it off. It's not going to work. Pepper said. What's not going to work? Tony dumbly asked, but already kicking himself for continuing his train of thought. You know. Don't deny it. Pepper chastised him. Tony took a deep breath and asked, why? 'Cause I can't handle a relationship with someone who I don't know would stay with me through everything. I can be that guy. Tony said quietly, with a hint of pleading in his voice. Pepper collected her thoughts before answering. Not from what I saw. You never had a long-term relationship, and most of them are one-night stands. I don't want to be just another notch on your post. For God's sake, you introduce yourself as a billionaire, playboy, genius, philanthropist. Tony stayed silent, agreeing with most of what she said, but he is not deterred. I never really thought about an idea of us together before Naruto arrived, but after he placed that idea in my head, it's the only thing running in my head. Tony stared intent on Pepper's eyes. It's the first time I imagined myself being with someone. Growing old. Having a family. Pepper remained silent throughout his speech. I want you to give M a chance to prove I can be better. I want you to give us a chance. Tony looked down and closed his eyes. Waiting for the inevitable no. Pepper has a tear running down her left eye. Her resolve to say no is breaking down. Tony's scenario is the same as her own. 6 months. Pepper finally said. Tony looked up with a quizzical look, not understanding Pepper's answer. You have 6 months to prove you can have a long-term relationship. Pepper explained. With that said, she stood up and marched quickly to her room. Tony is still looking dumbfounded at the development. But a smile is slowly forming on his face as he absorbed what Pepper said. He stood up and walked over to the bar to have a victory drink before thinking twice, remembering what Pepper said. He seriously needs to cut down on his drinking. Tony was walking towards his room when he heard an angry shout. I'm going to fucking kill him. Tony sprinted towards Pepper's room, thinking something horrible happened. When he reached the open door of Pepper's bedroom, he flopped down and laughed hard. He can see Pepper standing in the center of the room with Pepper of various varieties and sizes everywhere, including the ceiling. Pepper walked out of the room, slamming it shut. She gave Tony an angry glare. 6 months, she bit out. This immediately shuts him up. New York City, New York, March 31, 2005, 0900H local. Natasha sat frozen on her seat in a cafe. She had dragged both Barton and Carlson to have a better breakfast than just take out coffee. They were about to finish eating when Fury called her. She answered immediately, but before she could say anything, Fury said the words that left her frozen. Naruto is the alien. Barton is immediately concerned and tried to call Natasha's attention to no avail. He then stood up and shook her. Natasha shook her head and gave Barton a nod of appreciation. Romanoff. Are you still there? She heard Fury from the other end of the line. Yes, boss. Just a little taken aback. Wait for a second, boss. We're outside. Natasha answered. She signed to Barton and Coulson that they need to get back to the office. Who are you with? Clint and Philosophy. She said. Good, I want you to put me on speaker when you get in. Fury ordered. They walked briskly to the car while still making sure no one is tailing them. Coulson on the driver's side, Barton in the passenger side, and Natasha in the back. She connected her phone into the speaker and said, You're on speaker, boss. Good. I just got out of the meeting with the president. He assigned S.H.I.E.L.D. to find a person who is a threat to national security. He suddenly appeared on a crash site in the middle of the Mojave Desert at 8:45. Fury said. Near Vegas. Natasha asked yes. Fury confirmed. He sent a clone to LA while the main body ran towards Vegas. The photo on file is a match to Naruto Uzumaki. The two finally understood Natasha's reaction. She already found their alien and had close contact with him. The worst part is, they let him get close to Tony Stark. Fury can be heard typing something in his phone before saying, I want you and Barton to go to Berlin. Sir, why Berlin? Isn't Naruto last spotted in Vegas? We even have a tail on him. Barton asked for clarification. We don't have a tail on him anymore. The recon team lost him last night. He just suddenly vanished when he walked down an alley, even the drone lost sight on him when its view was temporarily blocked. But why Berlin, sir? Natasha asked again. His credit card was pinged in a McDonald's in Berlin an hour ago. A street cam confirmed his location. Got it, sir. We'll go right now. Natasha said. I'm sending you the access code for his electronic file. It updates every time his identity or card is used. Our system is also continuously scanning for all remote access CCTV W can get. The president wants him found. We have been authorized to use any resource we need. Fury informed them before hanging up. I'll handle everything here, including the Stark situation. Coulson said helpfully. Thanks, Philosophy. Natasha said before they all disembarked the car. They already arrived at the New York field office. Coulson walked off, trying to get ahead of his job, leaving Barton and Natasha who are walking slowly. What are you thinking? Barton asked when he saw the scrunched up look on her face. There's nothing that indicated that he was an alien when I met him. I should have thought of it when I got footage of his fight. Natasha said. Don't be too hard on yourself. The event happened in New York. Who would have thought his first stop is Vegas to gamble? Natasha looked at her phone and opened Naruto's file. She was shocked again on what she saw. What now? Barton asked, already anticipating another headache. He's not in Berlin anymore. According to this, he's in Moscow. Barton walked over to the nearest wall and banged his head hard while Natasha just watched. Satisfied with venting out his frustration, he walked back to Natasha. He's gonna be worse than you. He finally said, remembering the time he tracked down Natasha. I'm still better. We're gonna find him in a week. She confidently said.